live.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, June 22nd, 2023. This is your award-winning Gimbo Nation Media Assassination episode 1566.
This is No Agenda.
Looking over here, not over there, and broadcasting live from the heart of the Texas Hill Country here in FEMA Region number 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm wondering, when did Chloe Moritz become Chloe Grace Moritz? I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Wow. A riddle this early on in the show. A riddle. Who is Chloe Moritz?
No, it's Chloe Grace Moritz.
Yeah, who is that?
She's an actress. She's very, if you saw her, you know who she was. She was on the Today Show, hour 3 this morning. I was watching as I was eating breakfast.
More interesting would be what
worst show ever.
Well, you know, as we were rewatching Friends, as we do from time to time, we noticed the moment when Courtney Cox became Courtney Cox. What did she marry? And I forgot. Why are we even talking about this?
I just mentioned it as an opener. I didn't want to.
What did you have for breakfast?
As far as I was going.
What did you have for breakfast is more interesting.
I had a pancake and an egg on top, Grand Slam style.
Oh, truck stop breakfast. Oh, I love that. Excellent. Well, good. Then you're ready for
the distraction of the week on No Agenda.
Yeah, this has got to be the biggest distraction of the week. Everybody falling for it. The most emailed articles, the most emailed and posted theories. And you even participated at some point.
No.
Yes, you did on No Agenda Social.
I did?
Yes, you did. You're like, yeah, that was my thought. Like, it's probably a hit job on somebody.
No, the hit job guy.
Hit job, oh yeah. Yes.
The Pakistani billionaire.
Yeah, it's the sub.
Back in 2018, industry experts expressed concern about the Titan sub in a letter addressed to Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, which operates the sub. In that letter, obtained by the New York Times and later authenticated by ABC News, the Marine Technology Society warned of potentially catastrophic problems with the Titan's development that could have serious consequences. The group insisted on oversight from a third-party organization.
There's been a lot of headlines calling this a tourist sub. This is not a tourist sub. It must be understood this is an experimental craft and that there are significant risks attached to it.
Kemper says after the letter was leaked, OceanGate CEO made changes.
He made it more clear that it's an expeditionary or a experimental craft.
Meanwhile, many observers have been surprised to learn the vessel is steered using a video game controller, but that does not concern experts.
Few people are aware of is that the U.S. military has happily embraced this kind of technology. We are operating drones. We are firing lasers. We are even operating periscopes on U.S. Navy submarines using similar technology.
I love this story. This is the story everybody wants. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, this is why we all watch space launches. We want to see them die. Come on, man. Listen, we want to halt. If it will be very...
That's the NASCAR theory.
Yes, it'll be very unsatisfactory if we're not pulling dead bodies out of a sub depleted of air. That's what we want. The whole world is captured by it. It's almost like
I had no intention of ever discussing this story, but I'm glad you did. And by the way, I was only brought into it as a response to somebody mentioning my thesis.
Yeah, but, I mean, you engaged, man. You engaged in the distraction of the century.
The game controller aspect of this is the funniest part.
Yeah, this show is run on a game controller. What are people talking about?
I don't know what it is. Everything is.
Totally.
It's a great product.
Yes. We love it. Yeah, remember where's the data glove? Bring the data glove back. I love that thing. Remember people were hacking the data glove from Nintendo? You remember that thing?
Vaguely.
That thing was cool.
Well, you have one?
I had one at some point, definitely. Definitely. Oh, I thought that thing was the best.
My favorite thing about this story is the people coming out of the woodwork to talk about how dangerous this is. And my favorite guy was some character who says, All it needs is a nick in the hull. And it'll collapse on itself.
Yeah, that's what we're all waiting for. And I love we heard knocking. Yeah, we heard knocking with one of our probes, and we can't find it. I mean, I hate.
And there's supposed to be somebody heard knocking from an airplane. What was that story about?
No, they dropped a probe. They dropped a probe, and then they said the probe. Okay. Yeah, the same probe they dropped to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. Okay, so that was one story. But the next story, I love this story. We've been tracking it. We've been tracking everything from fake meat to the new cell-based meat, which is this ghastly idea of extracting cells from an animal, presumably a chicken or a chicken egg, and then growing meat in a big vat, and then serving that as
like chicken. Growing bacteria.
Yes, growing cells like cancer cells. Yeah. So the USDA, not the
I wonder if you use guar.
Explain guar so everyone knows what it is.
Oh, it's a goo that you put in the bottom of a Petri dish to
mold stuff. Yeah, they might. So
that's what I'm thinking.
So the USDA approved the use of this. Approved this. Now that's not the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, but the USDA approved it, so it now can go into some restaurants. And there's a whole new marketing tactic behind it, and I just have to go through this because, there's money behind this. There's scripts behind this. It's identical scripts. You're allowed to do a variation, if you will. But of course, initially, this was climate change. We need to move to protein and soy-based meat because cow farts are killing the world, according to Greta. I think it was yesterday. It was 5 years since the world would be expire, thanks to her tweet.
Yeah, she said that the world would come to an end yesterday.
Yeah, and we're still not to an
that
end.
Would come. She didn't say this yesterday. She said it 5 years ago, but predicted it was going to be yesterday.
She didn't say come to an end, but it would be pretty much hell.
Over.
Yeah, it would be hell. So ABC, who of course get paid the most money, and see if you can figure out what the key is in this report. And then I have 3 other really short ones. And then I have the mega native ad from NPR.
This morning, the USDA, for the first time, has approved lab-grown meat to be sold to the public.
So that's where it all starts, just a few cells.
2 cultivated meat producers now getting the green light to begin commercially selling their chicken products. Lab-grown meat is created using cells from living animals, such as fertilized eggs, which is then incubated and grown into large masses of meat in these stainless steel bioreactors. ABC's Devin Dwyer recently got a tour of California-based Upside Foods, where meat is cultivated.
You're making chicken in there.
Yeah, so if you look at this is approximately a 200-plus liter tank. And we take cells from a chicken or an egg. It takes 2 weeks to grow the equivalent of 1 chicken, 1,000 chickens, or 100,000 chickens.
So you're saying in this factory you can make more meat faster and cleaner than an average farmer?
Well, ultimately, yes.
The company says lab-grown meat could be instrumental in helping feed the world's growing population as meat demand rises, while using a fraction of the land and water of animal farming, helping to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Critics argue it's no silver bullet, with the potential for major socioeconomic implications and questions about how the meat is labeled. Many experts say more study is needed.
More research and just caution. I think that a lot of companies are going to use or present the best case scenarios.
As for how the lab-grown chicken tastes?
All right, my first bite of cultivated meat. It's chicken.
Yeah, okay. So the payoff is the same for everybody. Oh, it tastes like chicken. But did you catch the new marketing? The new marketing that they're using?
No, not really.
You take it from living animals. You don't kill an animal, living animals.
The age of lab-grown meat has arrived in this country. The Agriculture Department just approved 2 California companies to sell chicken grown in steel tanks using cells that come from an animal egg or a special bank of stored cells. The cell-cultivated chicken will first be available at a restaurant in San Francisco and another one in Washington, D.C., owned by famed chef Jose Andres, before hitting stores.
Now, CBS didn't get any money. They didn't use the script. Do you know that chef, by the way, the famed chef?
Yeah, he's a famous chef.
Okay, well, he needs to be checked off the list. He's no good. No, I think all the Fox affiliates, they got the ad buy.
For the first time, U.S. regulators approved the sale of chicken made from animal cells. It allows 2 California companies to offer lab-grown meat to restaurants. The cultivated meat is grown in steel tanks using cells that come from a living animal, a fertilized egg, or a special bank of stored cells.
A living animal, and this Fox affiliate took it one step further.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture has approved the sale of chicken made from animal cells.
Cell cultivated or cultured meat, as it's being called, is grown in steel tanks using cells that come from a living animal. It comes out in sheets and cut to mimic real meat, they say. 2 California companies, Upside Foods and Good Meat, have raced to be the first in the U.S. to sell meat that doesn't come from slaughtered animals.
Ooh, nice variation. Not from slaughtered animals. So you could only imagine the bubbly women at NPR would just have a field day with this one. NPR has slid so far downhill. This is something you'd expect from Gimlet. What is it? Spotify podcast studios.
I don't know. If you think you're just noticing that this has been going on for a decade.
No, you have actually accentuated this in recent shows with these women.
Dingbats, yes.
I hate to say it, but they're dingbats indeed.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture.
I mean, she'll start off we've got to analyze this. She starts off serious, and the minute she knows she's getting to the story and to her compatriot,
her comedy partner in comedy.
Her comedy partner. She starts to get all jitty with it.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture has, for the first time in history, given a green light to 2 U.S. companies to sell meat that is grown directly from animal cells without slaughtering the animal.
See, she got the slaughtering the animal meme. This is very good. So she's read the required copy.
Until recently, it was called lab-grown meat since scientists were developing it in labs. Now, though, the labs have been replaced by production facilities that can grow tens of thousands of pounds of meat a year. NPR's Allison Aubrey has visited these companies and tasted the meat and joins us now. Hey,
listen to that. Listen. Oh, Allison, she's tasted the meat. I'm really excited.
Now, though, the labs have been replaced by production facilities that can grow tens of thousands of pounds of meat a year. NPR's Allison Aubrey has visited these companies and tasted the meat and joins us now. Hey, Allison.
Hi there.
Hi there. Hey, Allison. Hi there. It's time for a serious report.
So, Allison, what exactly did the USDA approve today?
Well, for thousands of years, eating meat has meant slaughtering animals.
Slaughtering animals. Are you getting the marketing pitch here?
But the scientists behind the 2 companies that received USDA clearance today say that's no longer necessary.
No.
Instead, they produce meat by extracting cells from an animal's body, and then they feed the cells and literally grow meat in big stainless steel tanks.
Ooh! Does this sound like Bill?
She should be fired immediately.
Does this sound like Bill Nye the Science Guy, female version? I mean...
yeah.
I mean, they're just jumping over this.
She's gushing is the word.
Thank you.
Their production facilities look like breweries almost, but instead of beer, they're brewing meat. So
brewing meat! Oh, yes. Is she the science editor? I miss it because she's really doing a good job.
To speak.
I do not know how I feel about that, but okay, let's go on here. We have been hearing about so-called fake meat for a long time now. I mean, a lot of us have eaten our fair share of veggie burgers or Impossible burgers over the years, but what makes this different?
What makes this different?
This is nothing like the Impossible Burger or...
Oh, John, did you know that this is nothing like the Impossible Burger?
Impossible burgers over the years, but what makes this different?
This is nothing like the Impossible Burger or a veggie burger, which are made from vegetable proteins, so soy, potato protein, and a bunch of other ingredients that are mixed together.
Mystery ingredients.
To taste like meat. What's approved for sale today actually is meat.
It actually is meat. Oh, okay. I'm happy to know that this stuff you brewed You brewed this meat, and it's actually meat.
Ingredients that are mixed together to taste like meat. What's approved for sale today actually is meat. When I visited Upside Foods, which is headquartered in Berkeley, they prepared their chicken, which is grown directly from chicken cells. It's more than 99% chicken cells. It was pan-seared.
What's the other 1%?
It's the secret ingredient.
Kind of lovely, buttery wine sauce.
Oh, John. Oh, she got duped. They put this hunk of cell-cultured precancerous goo into a lovely, buttery wine sauce.
Ordered in Berkeley, they prepared their chicken, which is grown directly from chicken cells. It's more than 99% chicken cells. It was pan-seared in a kind of lovely, buttery wine sauce.
I mean, Allison, you're kind of bearing the lead here. How did it taste? How was it?
You know, I think almost anything cooked in butter and wine probably tastes good, right?
Yeah.
What did impress me is the texture. They've basically replicated the texture of chicken breast. I told the CEO of Upside Foods, Uma Valetti, hey, it tastes just like chicken.
Oh, this. Everyone's got the great line. Tastes just like chicken. And this guy, I mean, are we sure that he's actually the chicken growing guy, or is he the guy from Google? I don't know.
It is chicken. It's just chicken grown
sounds like that Google guy.
Doesn't he sound like Sundar Pichai? He's moonlighting as the chicken guy. I'm telling you.
It is chicken. It's just chicken grown directly from animal cells in a different way.
Yeah.
Let's
it is
stop
chicken.
right there.
It's a lie. It is not chicken.
It's not chicken. It's a tumor. What they're doing is growing tumors.
Well, at least they have the texture.
How is it not a tumor?
I'm in agreement with you.
Let's just rebrand it. Right, get it out of the way. Rebrand it quick.
Chicken tumor.
Tumors.
Just plain old tumors. Tumors in what? Tonight we have tumors in buttery.
Tumors in wine and butter.
Into buttery wine sauce.
It is chicken. It's just chicken grown directly from animal cells in a different way, in a very clean, controlled environment.
Oh.
Now, Dr. Valetti is a cardiologist.
That's also interesting how they do it. It's clean environment. Not, that immediately makes you think of chicken poop, nasty ass chickens walking around. I mean, this is actually I should have played the jingle. Feel bad about it. This is a war on chicken.
We had the war on chicken before, remember?
Yeah, but we
probably have a jingle.
Yeah, here it is. Here's the jingle.
The war on chicken.
We predicted this years ago that this would happen.
Years ago.
It's just chicken grown directly from animal cells in a different way, in a very clean, controlled environment.
Now, Dr.
Can you stop
Valetti
it
is
for a second?
Yeah, sure.
So these journalists, and you've already given us ABC, CBS, NBC, now we're on NPR. Does one journalist anywhere say to that guy, is there anything else besides chicken you can grow, like beef or buffalo or yak or dinosaurs or anything? Is there any other thing you can grow besides chicken?
Can we grow a woolly mammoth? I think we have a woolly mammoth cell.
Did anyone ask that simple question? That would be the first thing I'd ask.
It wasn't asked per se, but it came up as kind of a toss away at the end of this report. My question would be, can we grow human meat for consumption? I hear human meat is delicious.
Yeah, you topped me.
Delicious.
tastes good, right?
Oh, yeah.
What did impress me is the texture. They've basically replicated the texture of chicken breast.
I'm sorry. Here we go.
It's just chicken grown directly from animal cells in a different way, in a very clean, controlled environment.
Now, Dr. Valetti is a cardiologist who became a vegetarian, but he loves the taste of meat, and he thinks this is a better way to produce meat, one that could be better for the environment. And as the son of a veterinarian, he likes the idea of sparing animals' lives.
Oh, don't kill the chicken!
Okay, so where can people buy it or get a taste of it?
Right now, don't expect to see it in grocery stores. To start out, both companies have kind of teamed up with famous chefs. Upside Foods is working with chef Dominique Crenn, a Michelin-starred chef in San Francisco, and Good Meat, the other company that got clearance today, has partnered with megastar Jose Andres, who will...
Yeah, you know these guys?
Well, she mentioned Dominique Crenn.
Yeah.
Which is Crenn Atelier, the most expensive restaurant, or one of them, definitely in San Francisco, but in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she bought into this. She must not be making it. She must, even despite her ridiculously high prices at her restaurant, she must be losing her ass to do this.
Well, I mean,
it's a reputation ruiner. She's now cooking tumors.
Serve cultivated chicken at one of his restaurants.
I mean, so why should people want this? What is wrong with the way that meat's produced today?
Oh, now this is an in-depth question.
It depends on who you ask. The traditional meat industry says the status quo is efficient, but meat production has a big environmental footprint. I talked to Bruce Friedrich, who heads the nonprofit Good Food Institute. He tracks investments in protein alternatives and says there are more than 150 companies working to bring cultivated meat and seafood to market.
So she interviewed a guy who has investments in alternative food for some freestanding advice, which would not be influenced by anything. These people are so stupid.
Some are working on beef. He says global demand for meat is expected to double by 2050.
Cultivated meat gives consumers everything that they like about meat, but it requires a fraction of the land, requires significantly less water.
Now it remains to be seen whether cultivated meat production can lower...
That guy's got to get with the program. He is missing the boat. Instead of, it's no longer about climate change, buddy. It's no longer about that. It's about not killing animals, not slaughtering animals. In fact, the title, which was disappointing they didn't use the term, the title of the NPR report was No Kill Meat.
Greenhouse gas emissions from producing meat. But what is clear is that now that cultivated meat is approved for sale, it is no longer science fiction. People will get a chance to taste it.
All right. That is NPR's Allison Aubrey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great to be here. Thank you. Great to be here. So while, and then I'll shut up. So while everyone was distracted by no-kill meat and brewing meat,
I have a question.
Meat, yeah.
If you're a vegan,
yeah.
How do you take this philosophically?
I think it's okay because you're not killing the animal.
I don't think. What if you?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the point of veganism.
Yeah, but maybe we can grab the vegans as well.
What about vegetarian? If you're okay, let's forget the vegans. Let's go with vegetarians. Vegetarians don't eat meat because it has anything to do with killing animals that I know of.
Yes, yeah.
They like vegetables.
Right, but it is the vegetarian is really about the killing of animals. I mean, I don't know. I think
the vegan isn't it?
No, I think I don't know. I love meat. I'm not so crazy about chicken because unless I get one from someone's backyard.
Chicken's terrible product.
It is a terrible product. So most fish is terrible these days too. We eat beef, but no, we have no brewing. It'll be even a better slogan: brewing beef. So get on it, people. Let's start to brew some beef. So anyway, all of this was distraction. Ha ha ha, fantastic. Submarine, brewing meat. Meanwhile, the elites of the world, including our leaders, were literally dividing up the spoils of war in Ukraine. And I looked into this.
I know they had a meeting already about how they're going to rebuild, who's going to get what contract, and the war's not even over.
Oh no, but this thing has been going on for 6 years. I'll explain. First, now this is the report that got me interested. TRT. This is the Turkish radio and television report.
Billions of dollars have already been pledged to supply and train Ukraine's military, but attention is now turning to Ukraine's reconstruction. The British are hosting a Ukraine recovery conference in London this week. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived on Tuesday. Over 60 countries will be represented.
President Biden said from the outset of Russia's aggression against Ukraine that we would stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes, and both of our countries are deeply committed to that. We will continue to deliver on that commitment, including through a new robust U.S. assistance package that I'll be able to announce tomorrow.
On Tuesday, the EU Commission announced another $54 billion for the next 4 years.
This includes both loans and grants. The Preserve will provide, first of all, perspective for our partners in Ukraine, predictability. And it should also incentivize other donors to step up too.
The World Bank says Ukraine will need $400 billion to rebuild, the same as Germany after World War II. A huge task that will need efficient coordination and private sector investment. And that will require reassurance about Kiev's commitment to reform and fight corruption.
So he kind of gave it away there. This used to be called the Ukraine Reform Conference, which started in 2017. The first one is held in the UK. And they changed that last year into the Ukraine Recovery Conference. You could keep the same acronym, the same logos. They just replaced the word reform with recovery. And I looked at the program, and I mean, the videos makes no sense to listen to them. They are talking about import-export taxes, taxation on agriculture companies, the soil contracts. They're dividing this entire country up amongst themselves with our money. Oh, yeah, no, we have grants and loans and all this stuff. Oh, yes, it's going to be, and it's all about building back better. I kid you not. Restoring livelihoods. They don't care about Ukrainian people. We need to get more workers back there to exploit the soil. This is big agriculture in a massive way. And then we've got BlackRock and JP Morgan. They will be handling the recovery bank. Well, what could possibly be wrong with that? This is unbelievable. No, it's totally believable, but no one was really reporting on this. There's not a lot of U.S. news about this.
Not reporting on it now.
Not even UK news, and everyone was there. Queen Ursula, Blinken, even Prince Charles.
A king's welcome for Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shamal as world leaders and foreign ministers line up behind.
Yes, we're in this together.
We're in this together, says the head of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
We're in this together
to work out how much and exactly who's...
What is this bull crap? We're in this together. You're taking our money, giving it to contractors. The contractor speech, it's crazy. It's every single big agriculture company you can think of, all the banks. They are dividing I think at this point, let's just keep the war going until we've got all the agreements signed. You know what I mean? It's like, just keep that going.
What do you mean? What do you think they're doing?
Well, I didn't realize that they were just, now I do. We're seeing that they're fighting over 50 meters of turf.
Boy, no agreement on that yet.
No, that's unimportant. They don't care about that. It's about all the big agricultural land and the financing sector. And I guess they'll have a tax-free haven for tech. Goodbye, Ireland.
Together.
We're in this together, says the head of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Together to work out how much and exactly who's paying for the cost of repair and reconstruction for a nation still at war. Before they arrived, they were sent a clear pitch from Ukraine's president in his nightly address.
A rebuilt Ukraine, a transformed Ukraine, a strengthened Ukraine is a security carrier and a security guarantor. It's protection against any form of Russian terror and protection against any repetition of Russian aggression.
The devastation from 483 days of conflict is clear across the country. The World Bank says Ukraine's reparation effort could cost around $400 billion over the next decade. But that estimate was before the counteroffensive.
Oh, we need more!
And the sudden destruction of the Kakhovka Dam. And with Russia still targeting infrastructure, analysts say the final bill could be over $1 trillion.
Oh, yeah. Why did they blow up the dam? So we can pay people to go and rebuild it. Of course, this is the rubbleized strategy. The jackals are out. Time to build. Back better.
For the US and UK, it was a joint message for countries to dig deep.
Ensuring Ukraine's future as a secure, sovereign, independent nation demands not only providing for its security, but also for its economy, its democracy, and its full integration into Europe.
Key to the success of the pledging conference will be how to guarantee that Ukraine is a place to invest in future, beyond the niceties in a country with endemic problems of corruption and a possibility of a conflict lasting years. But after the billions already spent arming the defence of a nation, leaders are looking ahead to peacetime Ukraine to ensure a legacy that their help wasn't for nothing.
Oh, listen to that. Listen to that music.
It played that music?
Yeah. Oh, it's a guy, an organ grinder with a monkey on his shoulder outside of the conference.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And if you look at all these things, all of it's about tax. Of course, we want a place where we can, put our cheap workers, the ones we haven't replaced with AI, customer help, customer service people, I guess. And we want no tax. We want to be able to put our banking there so that there's no tax on income
big
tax.
Ag can go in there.
Yeah.
And that, I think what they did is identified Ukraine. By the way, people have to always realize Ukraine's not a hole in the wall. It's a huge country. It's bigger than the entire country of France and Germany combined, I think.
Yeah, it's big.
It's huge. It's massive. And it's largely agricultural. And they had to look at it and go, because when I was in Slovenia, I kind of noticed the same thing in the wine growing area. It's like, these guys are ripe to be plucked because it's just like they're old fashioned. They do things on small scales and lots of them. Just hell with it. Get rid of everything they're doing, and we'll just move our big ag in.
Yep.
And we can feed the world from Ukraine.
That's what Ukraine was doing. Here, investment opportunities and de-risking mechanisms to mobilize private finance in Ukraine. This will not go over in a country that's wrought with war, I will point out. This session will review approaches to attract private capital at scale into priority projects and sectors of Ukraine's economy. It will showcase investment opportunities in Ukraine now and in the future, and because they know the future, and the availability of support from the government of Ukraine and international partners to de-risk projects in the form of concessional finance or finance. What does that mean, concessional? What do you think that means in that case?
I don't know. We have to look it up.
Concessional. Let me see. Definition of concessional.
I think it's where you give up equity.
Conceding. Something such as a point previously claimed that is later conceded. No, I don't know. So that's like money that the tax.
It's some sort of a ripoff.
It's a ripoff. It's clearly a ripoff.
It's a different kind of ripoff that we're unfamiliar with.
Obviously, we're not going to get any of that. Where was it? Now,
your point, by the way, and your point about Goodbye Ireland.
Yeah.
Not only that, but and no offense to the Irish, we have a lot of Irish listeners. They're sharp, but the Ukraine people, they're always been into high tech. That's perfect to move tax-free tech into Ukraine and then exploit their cheap coders.
Well, here it is. Tech for transformation, digital excellence, and strengthening partnerships. This session will showcase Ukraine's digital transformation and vision for the future, which they already know. The resilience of the Ukrainian tech sector and the opportunities for international partnerships with this growing sector. You're absolutely right. How about this one? Power of transformation, building back better in the energy sector. Building back resilient, efficient, decentralized, and clean energy system will be crucial to Ukraine's economic revitalization and long-term growth. The government of Ukraine will present the recently adopted Energy to 2050 strategy. Panelists will discuss how to best mobilize international support, that's our tax money, and enable private investment, grift, to support Ukraine's long-term vision for recovery and transformation. These effers are divvying it all up right under our noses. Right under our noses. And it's been going on since 2017.
Well, these things take time.
Well, they do, and they're patient, but they're all there. All of them are there, including the big bankers, all the prime ministers, all the foreign ministers. Everybody's there. And I love this. If you go to Twitter or any social media site, but let's just take Twitter. I'll do this. I'll do it live. And you type in, as a citizen arming Ukraine. Those are the words you need to type in. I will read the first hits I get here. As a German citizen, I want to say that arming Ukraine is the single best use of taxpayer money for decades. My only criticism is that the West aren't sending enough fast enough. Next one. As a citizen of Ukraine, I want to say that arming Ukraine is the single best use of taxpayer money for decades. My only criticism is that the West aren't sending enough fast enough. Next one. As a Belgian citizen, I want to say that arming Ukraine is the single best use of taxpayer money for decades. My only criticism is the West aren't sending enough fast enough. As a Czech citizen, it goes on and on and on. As a French citizen, same thing. It's all
boilerplate.
Boilerplate, all AstroTurf, all with Ukraine flags and blue and yellow hearts in the profile. As a European citizen, I want to say that arming Ukraine is the single best use of taxpayer money for decades.
Wow.
Yeah.
These guys aren't very good. They need AI.
Yeah. Well, and some of these have blue checks. So much for your system, Elon. So, and then this odd and interesting thing that happened. Remember Oryx, that former General McChrystal was boasting about the Dutch-Belgian open source crowdsourcing that
vaguely
that we maybe I should just play it. McChrystal. How do I spell McChrystal? How come I can't find? Well, how do I spell McChrystal?
It's CH. There's a H in there.
MCH.
It's I think it's Mick MC. No, it's M's.
Was it McChrystal?
MCCH. Try that.
Maybe it wasn't even McChrystal. MCCH. No. Oh.
That's not it either.
Well, you're going to have to take my word for it. So he was saying that, all about the war in Ukraine. Maybe if I do Stanley. Stanley. No, I don't know where this report is.
Oh, Stanley!
And he was saying, he was so proud of this open source reporting. It was kind of like a new Bellingcat, and it was called Oryx. And we went looking for the website, and it's literally like a horrible domain name that you can't remember. Well, they also so they also have a Twitter account, and which I immediately followed. They hadn't posted much on the Twitter account for about a couple of years, but now they reactivated it. And here is the post: "Dear all, I would hereby like to inform you that I will be ending Oryx on October 1st. I originally started Oryx blog 10 years ago to cure my boredom. Little did I know Oryx would escalate into the all-consuming project it is today. All of us work on the articles and lists in our free time. It's not our job. We don't get paid. Though I hoped our work would one day lead to a job, no such thing occurred. Oryx just doesn't make me happy anymore, and continuing with it prevents me from finding a happier place in life." So now I can see where an open source project will end, but why don't you end it now? Why October? Why October 1st?
Wow. Great. Yes.
So I'm thinking,
walk.
Yeah, something may be happening in October. Maybe that's where it all ends. Or something happens and they don't get, or they clearly didn't get a renewal, or someone reneged. Someone didn't pay him. That's what they're saying. We get no money for this.
And the contract's over in October.
I think that's what it is. Contract is over.
They didn't renew. Yeah.
Especially
right.
when you hear that the Pentagon, again, discovered another one of those nasty accounting errors.
Oh, yeah. They just that's why they better audit the Pentagon.
Yeah, $6.2 billion.
They can't even keep track of another $6 billion.
It's amazing. I'm so happy for Ukraine. Comes right in time now that Blinken just said, "Oh, we got another bill hanging around." His big swinging dick over there in London. I got some money. Let me throw another bill out there. No problem. So that's what I mean by distraction of the week, when we're all looking at submarines and we're all looking at lab-grown chicken meat, brewed chicken. The elites are literally dividing up the spoils of war already. They know the future.
Yeah, on our dime.
Yeah. And I have more about that later, but you seem to have a lot of interesting topics too, so I want you to jump in and give us some goods.
It's going with the flow.
Yeah, baby. That's why I'm handing over the flow to you.
So I'm going with, I got a bunch of Biden clips again. Sorry about that. I usually don't do two in a row. It's some screwball TikTok clips.
Oh, life just gets better.
But I do have a kind of a three-parter on digital currency. They brought an expert on.
Oh.
on, I think there's NTD. And I thought it would be worth listening to these 3 clips because they're educational, they're not exciting, but they bring us at least because you keep bringing it up.
I do. Yes, I do keep bringing it up.
So I thought we'd at least get somebody that knew what they were talking about.
Oh, unlike me.
So,
okay, thanks.
No, you're pretty much on the same wavelength, but this guy's a little different. But let's start with the intro, which is just a short intro to the other 2 clips.
The International Monetary Fund is working on a platform for central bank digital currencies. The managing director argues that the digital currencies shouldn't be fragmented by nation. What are the concerns with the IMF pushing for digital currency? NTD Business's Don Ma speaks to an expert in this field.
Now, before you move into your clips, interestingly enough, I got the 36-second clip from the IMF director. She was not arguing. She was stating a fact. And I'll play that now just for color.
If we are to be successful, CBDCs could not be fragmented national propositions. To have transactions more efficient and fairer, we need systems that connect countries. In other words, we need interoperability. And for this reason, at the IMF, we are working hard on the concept of a global CBDC platform to trade and to manage risks. And my colleague, Tobias Adrian, will talk more about it later.
Yeah, so it's interoperability of the central bank digital currencies. That's what the IMF is talking about. And I'm glad
my
you got
comment
this.
is this. That's what I think.
I love it. I love that you got some experts in on this.
Okay, so let's talk about this and the stuff that we're trying to do and with this guy they bring in. The guy may not be any good, but he sounds like he has a handle on it.
And here with me is Thomas Hogan, Senior Research Faculty at the American Institute for Economic Research. So the International Monetary Fund wants a platform for central bank digital currencies. Now, before we get into the pros and cons, I just want you to explain to me, what does it mean exactly to have a global CBDC platform?
Yeah, that's right. It's a good question because I think this has been kind of misreported in some of the articles that I've seen online because of the lack of clarity about what we mean by platform. So sometimes when we talk about central bank digital currency, we mean the platform is the currency itself. Like, for example, if the U.S. were to introduce a CBDC, we might call that the platform, or in Europe, if they're doing one, maybe that CBDC is the platform. But that's not really what we mean here. We mean a place where people could trade different currencies, different CBDCs. So, for example, I think we can make a distinction. If I'm an American traveling in Europe and there are some stores that maybe accept U.S. dollars, maybe I go into a store and I say, hey, do you accept dollars or euros? That's a question of the currency itself, not a question of the platform. If they say they accept only euros, then I have to say, okay, well, do you take a Visa card, or can I transfer from my debit card where my bank is going to switch from dollars into euros, or do I personally need to go to a bank and trade physical dollars for physical euros? That question of how to get from one currency into the other is really what they're talking about for the platform here. The IMF itself is not going to launch a central bank digital currency, just help coordinate trade of different types of currencies.
Yeah, I think I agree with what he's saying. I didn't think IMF was. It actually was the clip itself had the title IMF says global currency, which I'm like, no, that's not what she said. But yeah, a trading platform. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just to clarify it, as it kind of clarify it. Okay, so let's go to part 3. We'll be done.
So what concerns comes with this, if there is any?
Yeah, so I am not concerned about the platform itself. Like I said, I don't think the IMF is really going to have a lot of control over that. And so they probably, won't have much influence other than promoting CBDCs. And that's really the thing that I'm a little bit more concerned about is that, the IMF is trying to encourage countries to use CBDCs. In the United States or a bigger country, we might not worry about the government misusing that. I mean, we should worry a little bit in the United States, but much more of a concern in China, where the government is using it to monitor all of their citizens. So for a lot of the countries that are trying to get better capabilities, the IMF is going to potentially be equipping them with ways to monitor their citizens and control their citizens. And so I'm a little bit worried about that.
So you said in the U.S. we should still be a little bit worried about CBDC. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so the United States is considering doing some kind of central bank digital currency. We haven't really committed to anything. The U.S. Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States, is studying how they might implement a central bank digital currency. But so far, they are not planning to do one that would be directly offered to U.S. citizens. And so that's a really important distinction, that almost all of the countries, the plan is to have individual citizens use it just like they use regular currency. But in the United States, the Federal Reserve has said they actually don't think that they have the ability legally to do that. All they could legally do right now, as far as they're currently saying, is offer it to banks, which would then offer some kind of digital currency to the citizens, which is essentially what they do now. You know, the Fed already has a digital system for coordinating bank payments and having banks deposit money at the Fed, making payments with the Fed. And so having a central bank digital currency that's only offered to the banking system really wouldn't be much different than we have now. But there is some possibility that they might change their policy, or that Congress might authorize them to offer a central bank digital currency directly to the public. And if that happens, then that'll be a lot different. And I think we'll need to worry about it a little bit more.
I agree. I agree that the Federal Reserve doesn't have that, can't do that legally. What they are,
Congress, he mentions in there.
Well, Congress. I guess Congress could change that. They have the right.
Yeah,
they have the right.
Congress hates us.
What the Fed is launching next month is Fed Now, and so they will be the direct clearinghouse. It will go initially through banks, so you'll get your Fed Now account from your bank, but you can pay. I can pay you directly, and it'll go through the Fed Now network, and the transaction cost will be 4 cents per transaction, no matter what size it is, which is kind of going to screw up other systems. And we'll see. We'll see where that goes. This is interesting in the backdrop of the SEC basically clearing out all shit coins, all these, what they call unregistered securities, which I agree with, they are. And then all of a sudden, BlackRock this past week, registering for a Bitcoin ETF. And this magical exchange appears, backed by Deutsche Bank and other Wall Street banks, called EDX, and they're going to be an exchange. So, Bitcoin, spiked like 10% on all this news. I don't know. It feels like there's something going on, especially when BlackRock enters it. We'll see. I don't know.
Bad actors.
I don't think BlackRock's a good actor for sure. For sure. We'll see. But you don't need it to be a central bank digital currency if you're doing the transfer. And the Fed Now, their own material says, this is handy because if we have another COVID-like event, then you don't have to wait for those pesky checks. We'll just put it right into your account. So it's the same thing. And now that there's no ceiling on the debt, we're primed. We need another
Most
crisis.
Most people didn't get pesky checks. They got it straight into their account.
I'm just telling you what they say. They're saying that's their marketing. Is if we ever need to send out checks again, then we won't have to do that at all. You just go straight into your Fed Now account through your bank. So. I thought a lot of those checks I thought a lot of the money went through checks. I
don't know anyone who got a check. Jay got it straight into her account.
Oh, she did? Christina got one in Europe, mind you. That was interesting.
Oh, well, she's in Europe.
And but the stepdaughters got checks. They didn't.
Well, I don't know anyone who got a check out here.
Some trolls are saying they got checks. Some say they got 2. I didn't get no check. I didn't get no check. All right, do Biden, because then I want to play some counter-programming to Biden.
Here's Biden in California. This was like a couple days ago.
You know, I've toured many sites across the country that clearly show climate change is a genuine, is the existential threat to humanity. The existential threat to humanity. And maybe most important, I've committed that by 2020, we will have conserved 30% of all the lands and waters the United States has jurisdiction over and simultaneously reduce emissions to blunt the climate impact.
Did he say 2020?
Yeah.
This poor guy.
By 2020, we're going to have these changes.
It's going back in time. Okay. Great. I love it.
And now I got Biden misspelled here on this clip. This is the Biden ramble that has a bunch of different things in it.
And the cheer for Muslim, we cheer for Muslim athletes like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I know him, and I did mispronounce his name. Congressman Omar, where are you, Congressman Omar? There you go. God love you.
Another Muslim.
I'm not supposed to. I'll get in trouble for saying this, but you look beautiful tonight.
Oh man!
And Congressman Tlaib, where's the Congressman? There you are. Okay, so do you.
With your bald
I don't
head.
know why you wanted the job, man. I appoint all those federal judges, but thank you for serving. I'm not kidding. You want to come and make a speech? Hush up, boy.
Whoa! Who did he say that to?
Some black guy.
A black guy? No, he did not. He did not.
No idea. They didn't show the audience.
Hush up, boy. Wow. Was this one of these things where he was talking and called Xi a dictator?
Yeah, I don't have that clip. I wish.
Well, it's quick.
Tonight, a new flashpoint between the U.S. and China after President Biden called China's President Xi a dictator at a fundraising event. China blasting the comments as absurd and irresponsible.
Yeah, called him a dictator. Not good. Not good.
Last one I got here is, I don't know if this is the same as the California clip, but this is Biden in San Francisco.
President Biden landed in Silicon Valley yesterday.
Oh, this is the rundown.
Oh, okay.
I might as well play it.
Yeah. President Biden landed in Silicon Valley yesterday and announced a $600 million national plan for climate issues. Today, he met with tech executives and people in the industry to discuss artificial intelligence, including how to seize its opportunity and manage its risks.
My administration is committed to safeguarding America's rights and safety, from protecting privacy to addressing bias and disinformation to making sure AI systems are safe before they are released.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
On Tuesday, President Biden was in San Francisco for his 2024 presidential campaign. He's also visiting several locations in the North Bay, including the cities of Kentfield and Larkspur. A White House official said Biden's summit include experts known for being outspoken on the impact of AI on jobs, children, bias and prejudice, and the risks posed by AI if it isn't properly regulated. And added that, quote, U.S. government agencies have ramped up their authorities to protect Americans from the risks posed by AI, including fraud and discrimination.
As I've said before, we'll see more technological change in the next 10 years than we've seen in the last 50 years, and maybe even beyond that.
According to the president's schedule, Biden has a campaign reception on Tuesday evening.
Yeah, I find this very interesting, this rhetoric about AI and the government agencies are ramping up to protect Silicon Valley, no doubt. But also, I think this Altman character, Sam Altman, I think he's being positioned to be the new Elon Musk. He's got a lot of other things going. He's got like fusion energy projects and he's doing all these other things. You watch, this guy's going to be the new tech hero as Elon becomes.
He doesn't have the personality for it. I'll just say flat out.
And Elon Musk does?
Yeah.
No, Altman. Okay. Well, it may fail, but I think they're going to try. It's this. Okay.
It's like Zuckerberg. He just doesn't have personality for anything other than what he's doing.
So, RFK.
The number of people in tech over the years, and watching it from the get-go, I will say there's been so few. I mean, and when they crop up, they're just accolades go their way, everything goes their way. I mean, I can go back to the days of people like Chuck Peddle.
Oh, who was that? Who was Chuck Peddle?
Chuck Peddle's the guy who designed the 6502 chip, the original chip used in the Apple II computer, and he was a hell of a personality. You had Steve Jobs to some extent. Wozniak has a personality.
Bill Gates. Bill Gates had a personality, whether you like it or not.
Bill Gates does have a personality. And Ballmer has a personality, even though nobody liked his personality.
Oh, developers loved him.
And Philippe Kahn was had a super personality.
Yeah, I remember Philippe Kahn.
I mean, he built kind of a couple of empires out of nothing, and he was in the public eye. But these guys could speak; they could do public speaking, and they could do all these things. They weren't just reticent and I don't want to talk.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Sam Altman talks. He goes on all the podcasts, and he went and did his thing before Congress. It was interesting. He was full of crap, but I don't know. He's just all I'm seeing is a lot of businesses that have government involvement. And I'm like, oh, okay, just keep your eye on them. So RFK Jr. did a speech in New Hampshire, and I want to play a couple clips from it because he's taking a totally different approach to running for president, and of course. He is blocked entirely. Whenever anyone who's blocked by the mainstream is always interesting to us. After the whole Rogan challenge, he let me see what is the headline I had. Los Angeles Times: Robert F. Kennedy and the lies of the anti-vaxxers. So that's kind of how they're positioning RFK
They're making
Jr.
a huge mistake.
Well. If he could get this, what Trump did right is because of all the stuff he did, they gave him all this attention. And I don't think the mainstream will do that for RFK. But RFK has already said, he's already said, no, this election will be won on podcasts. Which
I'm of the opinion that in 2016, even though there are podcasts in there, I don't think the media scene was that different. I kind of agree with him. I think the media, because of after Trump and then the few years of Biden, the mainstream media people are just looking askance at it. A lot more than they did in 2016. In 2016, they did to it a little bit, but not like this. The people just don't believe these.
Yes.
The media is in a downward spiral.
Yeah. And with almost no ratings. I mean, no one's watching it. So I think if true, then his breakthrough was probably Rogan, although it also brings up all these, all these incredible, he's an anti-vaxxer, even his family hates him. Oh, pay attention. So he does what I think is a pretty important speech. And for a couple of reasons. One, his voice is much better. I think we already determined years ago when he starts talking a lot, then his affliction gets better. And he's also invoking John F. Kennedy, and a lot, and the days almost like not the Camelot part, but the peace part. And so he had this. And look at it in the show notes, about 45 minutes, and he does this entire spiel about the wages of war, and he says what's really happening is that if you have war outside your home all the time, then that is going to bring war inside your home, and literally inside your home. And that was pretty...
That's interesting. I want to make a quick comment here on this. Generally speaking, except, during these moments of huge amounts of propaganda, the American public is anti-war.
Yes.
And that's how Obama got elected. The Iraqi war was going on, and Obama ran in 2008, I guess.
Yeah, 8.
On a peace platform. You can take it to the bank.
Yeah.
If he was going to get us out of the Iraqi war, he was going to get us out of Guantanamo
Bay.
He was going to do this. He was going to do it. It was a total peace platform, and the Democrats really are the peaceniks, generally speaking. It's only recently that we've had this kind of crossover. And they still have the peacenik bug. The fact that the Democrats are the biggest warmongers I've ever seen of late is kind of a surprise. And I think Kennedy can bring them back to the normalcy.
Well, there's not going to be any debates, so there will be no exposure. Who knows how corrupt the actual voting systems are? There's a lot of disbelief in those across the board. I mean, if you look at any poll, right or left.
Right, and Gavin Newsom's also the wild card here.
Oh, and we'll leave him there. But this Kennedy cat, he's got a rap that is the Kennedy cat. If people hear him, I'm sorry. Hey, man, he's from like the Kennedy cat era, man. You know what I'm saying, bro? Dig it. I dig the Kennedy cat. So the whole setup is this wages of war, and he talks about, if you're warring with, if you think everyone's evil, and you're going to have that insight, you're going to bring that home right into your actual very home. You will have this kind of division. I'll play a clip that kind of is the end of that spiel.
And the question now is, are we willing to do anything like that today, or are we going to remain stuck in a self-righteous story in which America is categorically good and our opponents are irredeemably evil? If we remain stuck there, so will every other nation. It's not only America that's fallen into this simplistic good guy, bad guy thinking. That's the example we've set for everybody in the world. No wonder it's been replicated everywhere, between Israel and Iran, between India and Pakistan, between Shia and Sunni, between Jew and Arab, between Hindu and Muslim, left and right, between pro-life and pro-choice, between vax and anti-vax. This tribalistic us versus them thinking is tearing us apart, and it's...
Hey, a rousing round of applause! I think it was at a school, university. So people like, whatever I heard there, it's like people, yeah, wait a minute, you're saying something good there. So now he invokes and gives us a bit of a history lesson about his uncle. He talked more about his uncle, John F. Kennedy, than his dad, Robert F. Kennedy, and about JFK being an anti-war president.
And it's tearing apart our country, and it's tearing apart the world. So these are the wages of war. But when we take the first step toward peace, we will become once again a true world leader, a moral authority. And our example, it doesn't take much. It's just the first step. And people will start looking at America differently, the way they did when my uncle was president. My uncle, I pointed this out in my announcement speech. My uncle was so determined. He told one of his best friends, Ben Bradley, said to him, what do you want as your epithet on your gravestone? And he said, he kept the peace. He said, and Bradley asked him to explain that, and he said, the primary job of an American president is to keep the country out of war. That's what he said. And during...
Not happened recently.
During his time in the White House, he was surrounded by military hogs and his intelligence apparatus, his military brass, who were constantly exhorting him to go to war in Laos, in Berlin, in Cuba, in Vietnam, and he'd never sent a single combat troop abroad during his term in office. They wanted him to send 250,000 combat troops to Vietnam. He ended up sending 16,000 advisors who were not, under the rules of engagement, allowed to participate in combat. That's fewer people, fewer men. And he sent to get James Meredith, one black man, into Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi in Jackson.
Okay, now I'd like to say to that, advisors, we know what that is. That's bullcrap. Military advisors are there saying, all right, now you point it there, okay, and you pull the trigger here. So the JFK got duped, but I guess he was an anti-war president. And I'll give Trump that too. Trump didn't get us into war. He was going to pull us out. Didn't, but he at least, he went and talked to Kim Jong-un. He went and talked to Putin. Crazy. He's insane. He must be in cahoots with him. And now Putin. Now RFK gives us a history and a timeline that is important to remember. And it's probably the reason why Ron Paul says, that's when we lost the country was with the killing of JFK. And this goes back to one of our favorite clips. He'll talk about the clip, but also about an important presidential order.
A month before he died, in October of 1963, he heard that a Green Beret had died in Vietnam, and he asked one of his aides to give him a total casualty list. And the aide came back, and the casualty list had 75 Americans on it who had died in Vietnam, and he said, that's too much. We're not going to have a single more American died. That day, he signed National Security Order 263 that ordered every U.S. service person home from Vietnam, with the first 1,000 leaving the next month, and beginning in November. And that, he died a month later. And a week after his death, that order was remanded. And President Johnson ended up sending 250,000 troops by President Johnson. President Johnson ended up sending 250,000 troops. Ultimately, 560,000, 56,000 never came home, including my cousin, George Skakel, who died in the Tet Offensive. And we killed 1 million Vietnamese. We've then gone off on this path with a military-industrial complex, which President Eisenhower had warned about a week before, or 3 days before my uncle took office, in the best speech that he ever gave, and one of the most important in history, where he warned America that if we did not take great pains to avoid it, the emerging military-industrial complex would devour our democracy. It would destroy American values from within. And my uncle knew that. He knew that speech, and he spent the 3 years, his 1,000 days in office, fighting against the rise of the military-industrial complex. After his death, we went down that path that Eisenhower predicted, and that's where we are today. And it's time now to reverse that. It's time.
Somebody likes it. So I'm listening to this guy, and he goes into all of this stuff. It's like the military-industrial complex, and it's like listening to 15 years of no agenda clips. It really is.
Rolled into one.
It rolled into one, and pretty concise, and he does it well, and he talks about how we promised, and he says, Baker promised, we all promised not 1 inch towards the east with NATO, and he says, no, we didn't do 1 inch, we did 1,000 miles, and we've completely surrounded Russia. And, he talks about another one of his uncle's speeches where he said, hey, we didn't win World War II. The Russians did. The Russians defeated the Germans, or weakened them enough so we could go into Berlin, which is true, which is historical fact. And then he rolls out, and it's funny because his head is so in those days that instead of Boris Johnson, he says Boris Yeltsin. He doesn't correct himself, but he calls out something else we knew.
We now have such a distorted and desperate view of the other side that we won't even speak to them. To see conflict as inevitable has become the cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy. 2 or 3 decades ago, it was the clash of civilization between Islam and the West. Today, those legions of think tanks that are funded by the defense industry exhort us to prepare for the inevitable war with China. The war is inevitable only if we make it inevitable. The war in Ukraine could have been avoided, even as late, we now know, as spring of 2022, when U.S. officials sent Boris Yeltsin to Kiev to scuttle peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, a peace agreement they had already signed. And not only that, Russia had already begun removing its troops from the Kiev area. We now know this. This war was not inevitable. It was the creation of a relentless mentality of war and domination.
There you go. She said Yeltsin, but he meant Boris Johnson, because that's true. Boris Johnson went there to break it up.
Putin brought that document out recently and flashed it into front of the camera, showed the initials, and said this was a peace agreement, and the Russians were implementing it, but then it turns out that we goaded the Ukrainians and forget that.
So his strategy, he has. I don't think.
By the way,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but by the way, that is scandalous that the mainstream does not harp on that.
Because they're all part of it. We were way down that path.
Scandalous.
It's scandalous. Scandalous, I tell you. So his strategy, he doesn't seem to have a ground game. He doesn't, if you go to the RFK or Kennedy24.com website, there's no bumper stickers, there's no yard signs. Yeah, some T-shirts. No agenda shop is more than his shop. So I guess his strategy is podcasts, which, it may work. He's going on a lot of them. He's going everywhere he can. We could probably get him. Want to have RFK Jr.? We'll grill him. We'll grill him.
With the defense industries and big pharma combined against him,
it's very
not
difficult.
to mention the intelligence community, which doesn't have to do anything in this case.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't got a prayer. They just hound him with the overriding propaganda. He's an anti-vax nutball that shouldn't be taken seriously. And the fact that the public will see that he's not taken seriously by the mainstream media, which is the third element of this trifecta of evildoers. The fact that he's got 25% now in terms of people that say they might want to vote for him is a miracle.
Does he have?
And I think if it goes higher than that, I'm going to be stunned.
He says he has 25%.
That's according to one source. Yeah, 25%.
That's high
of the Democrats. I'm sorry, of the Democrats.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing a lot of Trumpers going, "Hey, yeah, we need Trump and Kennedy ticket. That'll do it." I'm like, dream on. That'll never. But I have to say, this anti-war message might connect if enough people are, you're right. There's still 30% of the world, at least the United States for sure, who are walking around, have masks on in the car. They're so mind controlled. But when you go an anti-war,
I was watching some local TV thing, and they were interviewing a couple that owned a restaurant, and so no one's wearing a mask except the restaurant owners. And they're a couple. It's like they're married and they're wearing masks sitting next to each other.
I know. He did have an appearance on Newsmax with Greta Van Susteren. My, how the mighty have fallen. And
this is almost a carnival to watch.
And this is about bioweapons.
But what I worry about is a WMD like a virus, like a gain of function. Something. Do you worry about
Greta, you ignorant slut,
about that? Because I see that as sort of the next big fight. Because those viruses don't see any borders, and they're relatively cheap to do this gain of function. I mean, it's just so. That's what I worry about more than the big hardware.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we know that the Chinese are developing ethnic bioweapons that are designed to attack people of certain racial types. And we're doing the same thing. We've been collecting Chinese DNA. We've been collecting Russian DNA specifically for that. This arms race is a catastrophe. In 1969, we had developed by then nuclear equivalency with bioweapons, so we could eliminate the same numbers of people with bioweapons at, I think, 29 cents a death. They calculated, the Defense Department and the CIA calculated at that time. And President Nixon did the most extraordinary thing. He went to Fort Detrick and he said, we are unilaterally ending the bioweapons arms race. We are giving up all of our bioweapons. We're going to destroy them. We're going to disable the capacity at Fort Detrick, and we're not going to make them anymore. And 3 years later, almost all the nations on the earth signed a charter stopping bioweapons production. And the problem was the CIA continued to do secret bioweapons production in our country. The Russians found out about that and rejigged their program. And then after 2001, we passed the Patriot Act, which reopened the arms race, which basically canceled out Nixon's 1979 agreement treaty and launched a new bioweapons arms race, and everybody else in the world is doing it. And the impacts, as you point out, Greta, are horrific.
Yeah, and there we are with the COVID, whether it was Wuhan lab, Fort Detrick, wherever it came from, everyone's pointing the finger at somebody else.
That's where they do it.
And of course, we know now that there were quite a few U.S., admitted by Vicki Newland, U.S. biolabs in Ukraine.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
And check it out. So the Russian Defense Ministry gave a briefing on U.S. military and biological activity. They have receipts. They show documents acquired when they went into all the biolabs and scooped up.
Yeah, they overran them.
Scooped up the documents.
Can't shred that fast.
Documents acquired during the special military operation prove the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research connection to the U.S. Defense Threat Reduction Agency and its key contractor, the Metabiota Company. And Metabiota was the company that Hunter Biden played a role in funding for these biolabs in Ukraine. I mean, this stinks to high hell, all of it.
Well, let's stop there for a second and consider something I constantly consider, which is that the whole Hunter Biden episode, the craziness, and then there's recent slap on the wrist, and all the rest of it, and all the stuff that Biden supposedly did, it just sounds so much like that guy that used to be the gangster in Boston that was working for the FBI,
Whitey Bulger.
Whitey Bulger, and it's just as though these guys have been working for the FBI, CIA, who knows who. And they're covered. That's why nothing's ever coming of any of this. There's got to be a reason that nobody is doing anything about the Comer investigation, where they're finding all this money flowing into the Biden family and Biden living in these mansions.
Yeah.
And it's just there's absolutely zip being done. There has to be a reason. It's not because Biden's a nice guy.
No. I think Hunter Biden is the key. If they unravel that guy, they unravel a lot of stuff.
He's covered.
Yeah. Well, let's listen.
Not happening.
Let's listen to the Pixie Girl on the Central Intelligence Broadcast Systems.
As part of the Hunter Biden plea agreement, 3 charges were filed in a Delaware court. 2 misdemeanor counts of willful failure to pay federal income tax on annual earnings in excess of $1.5 million. A third count, possession of a handgun by a drug user, would be dismissed if Biden remains drug-free and commits no additional crimes during a specified time period. A source familiar with the term said Biden's legal team expects probation, not jail time, though final approval rests with the judge.
I think the judge is going to do what's fair, and I think what's fair is, my client gets on with his life.
David Weiss, the U.S. attorney in Delaware who led the probe, was appointed by then-President Trump and left in place by the Biden administration. In a statement, Weiss said the investigation is ongoing, but Hunter Biden's team sees it differently.
My understanding is that we're done.
Traveling in California, President Biden was asked about the news.
I'm very proud of my son.
That's the quote of the century.
I know, I love that quote.
That's great.
About the news.
I'm very proud of my son.
Hunter Biden spoke about the federal investigation on CBS Sunday Morning.
I'm cooperating completely, and I am absolutely certain, 100% certain,
100%.
that at the end of the investigation, that I will be cleared.
Well,
100%
Democrats hailed the agreement as a sign of the Justice Department's independence. Republicans cried foul. Former President Donald Trump, arraigned on criminal charges last week, said Hunter Biden was given a mere traffic ticket.
You think this is another example of a two-tier system of justice in America?
Republican Congressman James Comer leads the House Oversight Committee, which is investigating.
By the way, I love how they do this. So, they pull in Biden, quote, I'm very proud of my son. And President Trump said, and all they do is the question. They don't even do the answer, just the question.
Said Hunter Biden was given a mere traffic ticket.
You think this is another example of a two-tier system of justice in America?
Republican Congress.
It's not even his answer. This is incredible reporting. Trump said this, but we only hear the question?
Donald Trump, arraigned on criminal...
the way they're structuring it, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
...charges last week, said Hunter Biden was given a mere traffic ticket.
You think this is another example of a two-tier system of justice in America?
Republican Congressman James Comer leads the House Oversight Committee, which is investigating the Biden family's foreign business dealings, a probe disputed by the White House. Will you call the U.S. Attorney in Delaware to testify?
I would expect the U.S. Attorney to testify in front of the House of Representatives very soon. He needs to explain whether or not his investigation is concluded.
Gene Rossi, a former Justice Department official who handled tax cases, told CBS News the failure to pay tax on more than $3 million, even though now repaid, is a serious violation.
If this were Hunter Smith instead of Hunter Biden, I think you would have a very much more aggressive prosecution.
So this is something I feel like the country is kind of locking into. It's like, hey, wait a minute, this two-tiered justice system, even Heritage can't get away from it. NBC had a shorter report.
Tonight, after a 5-year investigation, the president's son, Hunter Biden, has reached a plea deal with federal prosecutors to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and likely avoid prison time. Prosecutors say Biden did not pay more than $100,000 in taxes on over $1.5 million in income in both 2017 and 2018. And 2 sources tell NBC News the prosecutor will recommend probation, while also agreeing not to prosecute Hunter Biden for illegally possessing a firearm, even though Biden knew he was barred from doing so because he was using drugs. Biden faced a maximum of 12 months behind bars for each tax charge and up to 10 years for owning the handgun.
I think what's fair is, my client gets on with his life.
The former president tonight accusing the Biden Justice Department of giving Hunter Biden, quote, a mere traffic ticket. Our system is broken. Top Republicans argue it's evidence of a double standard.
So what they've done, Republicans and Democrats, uniparty people, they've moved the conversation away from the true crimes of the Biden crime family and all the biolabs. And I mean, they are involved. And I think what happened, it's a sophisticated operation. Ukraine has been used for all kinds of things for decades and decades. Even the DNC server went to Ukraine. I mean, all the stuff. Ukraine was it's where you go for all kinds of criminal activity. And the problem is the Biden crime family are just grifters, and they screwed up. It's like, oh, well, we got it. Oh, these guys, we can't have them blow it for us. This is the bonanza over here. We're divvying up this country. We can't have that. So let's talk about dual standards. Yeah, and then what do the Republicans do? Or whatever, like they haul in Durham. Let's talk about that. Let's
Durham's.
Let's talk about.
I have an alternative clip of the Hunter thing, and I still think he's still. This is the Hunter rundown on NTD, but I still think that they're protected. It's just everything that we're witnessing is just an example. And I'd like to know, by the way, how you can make $1.5 million and only pay $100,000 in taxes.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, maybe he wrote off all the hookers and blow. I mean, he could say that.
I'd like to know how you make $1.5 million, and he did it for 2 years, who knows how many years, but those 2 years that are under investigation, he must have done it more than just 2 years.
Yeah.
Make $1.5 million, don't even file, hell with it.
Yeah.
And then they bust you and you have to pay $100,000?
Yeah, it's magic.
Does anyone do the math on this?
No. Why would we do that? No one's paying tax except us.
There should be 38% of the 1.5, which is at least a half a. It's almost $300,000, $500,000, not $100,000.
No, but again, it was all
And they usually add penalties. Where's the penalties?
No. See, that's where instead of smelling the rat, people go 2-tier justice system, and that's what gets everybody off track. And look, I'm still on Twitter. I see it. It's 2-tier justice system, man. Okay.
President Biden's son Hunter plans to plead guilty to 2 tax crimes and has struck a deal with federal prosecutors to resolve a felony gun charge. NTD's Iris Tao brings us more from the White House.
and federal prosecutors charged Hunter Biden with failure to pay income tax and a felony gun charge of illegally possessing a firearm while knowing that he was addicted to using drugs. According to court documents, Hunter Biden is expected to enter a plea deal, basically pleading guilty to the 2 misdemeanor tax crimes. But when it comes to the felony gun charge, he's expected to enter what he calls a diversion program through which he could walk away with no jail time or even a felony record if he stays sober for 2 years and gives up the right to ever own a gun again.
If you are the president's son, you get a sweetheart deal.
Meanwhile, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy today criticized what he calls a 2-tier justice system, and he vows to continue GOP's investigation into the Biden family and its business dealings.
The DOJ should not be able to withhold any information now.
But a top Democrat on the House Oversight panel today called the charges against Hunter Biden a reflection of the DOJ's independence. And that's as former President Trump, who was indicted with 37 federal charges, and calls Hunter Biden's charges a mere traffic ticket. And today, President Biden said,
"I'm very proud of my son."
A White House spokesperson says today that the president and the first lady love their son and support him as he continues to rebuild his life, while adding, "We have no further comment." Meanwhile, although Hunter Biden's attorney says today's announcement marks the end to a 5-year investigation into Hunter Biden, the DOJ later said on Tuesday that its investigation into Hunter Biden is still ongoing.
Yeah, well, they're just saying that to keep their power. Oh, we might do something. It is all, and also this incessant. The election is not for a year and a half, and who's going to be president? Who gives a crap? Who's going to be president? What's happening? The president is not the king. He's not the emperor of America. He has limited power. See Trump. No, he did what he did. He's Supreme Court. Federal judges tried to do, everything else was his downfall, talking to Putin, talking to North Korea, talking to the Saudis. All that was, a military-industrial complex, DIA, whatever it is. It's all taking people down. It's just not that important. Your governor, your city council, your school board. That's what you got to focus on. In America, at least. We're a federated, system of states. You still have power. People are just sucked into this. Whoa, this guy, that guy, red team, blue. Exactly what RFK Jr. said. So then we have let's just go back and let's, as we say in the old country, drag some old cows out of the canal, and let's ouwe koe uit de sloothaler.
How's that in Dutch?
Yeah, an ouwe koe uit de sloothaler. It's dragging an old cow out of the canal. I know. The Dutchman.
What a great one.
Old cow out of the canal. Here's NBC's report.
And on Capitol Hill, the former special counsel investigating the FBI's Russia probe against then-candidate Donald Trump, telling lawmakers his findings included sobering missteps by the FBI. Garrett Hake now with that story.
Special counsel John Durham facing a 5-hour grilling, defending his explosive conclusion that the FBI acted improperly in its opening of the 2016 Trump-Russia probe.
We found troubling violations of law and policy.
Mr. Durham arguing that the available evidence did not support opening the full investigation known as Crossfire Hurricane.
The FBI opened up Crossfire Hurricane without speaking to the people who provided the initial information. Is that true?
That's correct.
Was there adequate predication for the FBI to open Crossfire Hurricane as a full investigation?
On July 31st, in my view, based on our investigation, there was not a legitimate basis to open as a full investigation.
And Durham saying he found anti-Trump sentiment among the FBI brass who launched the investigation.
There are some individuals who clearly expressed a personal bias.
The Mueller report ultimately found no conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia, but resulted in 34 people criminally charged. Democrats noting Durham's 4-year investigation produced only 3 criminal cases, including 2 acquittals, and accusing the Bill Barr appointee of running political interference for former President Trump.
So what comes out of all this, as far as I can tell, I don't know if you have any clips, but we have a win, everybody. We are censuring Adam Schiff of California. And it's like, oh, yes, he's been censured. Yeah, and if you look it up in the context of the United States House of Representatives, censure refers to an official reprimand, formal condemnation of a member for misconduct and inappropriate behavior. Nothing else happens.
No, of course not. This goes on every so often. It's supposed to be a rebuke.
Yes, that's all a rebuke. Slap on the wrist. Hey, we disapprove of how you handled everything, Adam Schiff. Good job.
I have one Durham clip from NTD.
Yeah, let's play the Durham NTD. Here we go.
So Chairman Mike Turner and Ranking Democrat member Jim Himes came and spoke to reporters immediately following that meeting with Special Counsel John Durham. And it's interesting because they had pretty much a bipartisan consensus of wanting to address the mistakes that the FBI made in launching that investigation against former President Donald Trump and expressing a wish to find solutions moving forward. Let's look at what they had to say.
It was interesting to hear from Mr. Durham that he has concerns that there are reforms that need to go into place and that there are still issues that they need to be addressed. And he was very forthcoming and sharing with us, and I think that we were able to get some information that would be very helpful for us in the work that we have to do on both FISA renewal, FISA reforms, and also reform issues with the FBI. And I appreciate my ranking member, Jim.
It essentially says that the FBI made serious mistakes when launching that Crossfire Hurricane investigation into former President Donald Trump because they lacked sufficient evidence to even open the investigation to begin with. Instead, the information that the FBI did have was based on individual sources who were politically biased, and those facts went unchecked. Even when the FBI did come across information that was contrary to that information coming from those individual sources, they still dismissed it and continue to launch that investigation. Now, of course, we've heard from many Republicans. They've pointed to this Durham report saying that it's proof that the FBI has used their power to target political opponents, specifically former President Donald Trump. Of course, this is a similar argument that we heard just last week during Trump's second arraignment. Now, the FBI has responded acknowledging that they did make mistakes with that Crossfire Hurricane investigation, but have said they have since taken steps to prevent mistakes like this from happening in the future, and have also said that the FBI officials involved in the Crossfire Hurricane investigation have left the FBI either by retiring, being terminated, or having resigned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nice and tidy. All right.
Okay, so I want to read something from a Democrat. This is a newsletter that comes out on Substack called A Letter from an American. And the only reason I subscribe to it is because one of our
why wouldn't you? Because you need to have good information on all sides, of course.
One of our producers was bitching in one of his letters about how his wife won't come around to listen to No Agenda. and he cited this newsletter. She reads it religiously and believes every bit of it. And so I'm just going to read just a bit of it discussing the Durham report and the testimony that Durham had, and just to show you where the typical hardcore Democrat is concerning the Russian investigation, because it keeps cropping up. But Democrats on the committee pressed Durham on the facts of the Russian investigation itself. And he seemingly, somewhat reluctantly, agreed under oath in response to a question by Representative Adam Schiff that the facts of the Mueller report and the Senate Intelligence Committee report were correct. Russia interfered in the 2016 election for the benefit of Trump. Trump's campaign welcomed the help and shared information and secret meetings with Russian operatives, and the FBI was justified in investigating that interference. Now, this is not what anyone else is hearing, but this is what the core of the Democrat Party believes.
It sounds like it was written by Nicole Wallace.
It's a lie.
Yeah. That's not at all what, I mean, we know a couple of things from the Mueller report. We read it all. We deconstructed it. It was disappointing for people that, they couldn't hang Trump on it. We also learned that the No Agenda show is the best podcast in the universe. That was also in the Mueller report.
It was in there.
It was in there. Yeah, it's a lie. So then
it's a lie, but they you spew it out just like this.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it goes on with this. It's more about how Russia and Trump is, they're connected. And they're going to, as somebody pointed out on one of the talk shows, I can't remember which one, I think it was Bongino Gino's radio show.
Dan Bongino.
He says that there's no way that they're not going to revisit this because it works so well. They're just associated whoever Republican is that's running that with Russian interference. And they stick with it.
Yeah,
and this is underlying everything we're talking about and everything, all the clips and all the realities. What I just read underlies everything, and it stays there.
And it's been that way for decades and decades. It goes all the way back. Russia, communists, Russia, Cuba, on and on and on. That's always been the boogeyman. So there was one moment in this hearing where I forget who it was. This guy is just like, man, if you're shilling for Trump, you're going to lose everything. Your life is over. You better quit it.
Bianca, John, we've now entered the 5th hour of this hearing where we continue to hear questions from members to the special counsel, John Durham. And what's been a very partisan display up until now, while Republicans have chosen to focus on the contents of his report, Democrats have tried to discredit John Durham's findings and even attack his character.
You have a good reputation. You had a good reputation. That's why the 2 Democrats supported you. But the longer you hold on to Mr. Barr and this report that Mr. Barr gave you as special counsel, your reputation will be damaged. As everybody's reputation who gets involved with Donald Trump is damaged, he's damaged goods. There's no good dealing with him because you will end up on the bottom of a pyre.
My concern about my reputation is with the people who I respect, my family and my Lord.
Oh, Lordy.
And I'm perfectly comfortable with my reputation with them, sir.
So your reputation will be gone. You'll be nothing in this town. That's what they're all afraid of. That's what they're all afraid of. I do have to play this clip from Bret Baier's interview with President Trump. Bret Baier was out for blood, and I think he drew some, and he embarrassed the former president many times with what he was saying. And I have to say, he just ran circles around Trump, and Trump wasn't expecting it. I don't know. Did he still think that Fox News was on his side?
No, I don't believe that's true because he said a number of times that he knows that Fox News is flipped.
Well, he wasn't prepared for it. I mean, this was. I mean, Baier did a lot of interesting things, but
go
ahead, say
just
it.
To discuss this little aspect, I think Trump still thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and he can be tricked.
Oh, yeah, so he can be tricked. Well, anyway, listen to this.
Your Vice President, Mike Pence, is running against you. Yeah. Your Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, she's running against you. Your former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said he's not supporting you. You mentioned National Security Advisor John Bolton. He's not supporting you either. You mentioned Attorney General Bill Barr, says you shouldn't be president again, calls you the consummate narcissist and troubled man. You recently called Barr a gutless pig. Your second Defense Secretary is not supporting you, called you irresponsible. This week, you and your White House called your White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, weak and ineffective and born with a very small brain. You called your acting White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, a born loser. You called your first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, dumb as a rock. And your first Defense Secretary, James Mattis, the world's most overrated general. You called your White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh Canadian, milquetoast. And multiple times you've referred to your Transportation Secretary, Elaine Chao, as Mitch McConnell's China-loving wife. So
I will tell you that something happens when people leave. They can like me very much. I have this woman named Alyssa Farah. She said the greatest things long after she left. He's the greatest president we've ever had. He was unbelievable. Then The View offered her a contract. But obviously only if she changed her views. And all of a sudden she can say negative things. Money gets offered to people, and some people change.
That just is not the answer. You know, he says it. Yeah,
he was barraged.
Yes, he was. But he was like, I'm great at firing people. He's pretty good at firing people. I'm not good at hiring people. And by the way,
he's never going to say that.
No, and he should repent for Operation Warp Speed. Not maybe for doing it, because that wasn't necessarily wrong, but he should say, that didn't work out too well. That stuff's not good.
He should also repent for not pardoning Julian Assange.
That would be a big one for us, yes, for sure.
And also probably Snowden should have been on the list.
But also, it feels to me like he's thinking simplistically about America has grown up, thanks to him, actually. We have grown up. There's a lot of people who are, Paul, the septic guy, called me yesterday, and I had some question about his generator. And he's like, man, like, you were right that Ronnie D, he's no good. He's a Wall Street guy, but, Trump, I don't know what to do. People are confused because now they start to understand the issues. They're seeing what's going on. Now, Trump is right about what he predicted about the economy, et cetera, but that was easy to predict because of all the money that was printed. And he was there, he saw it. He actually brought the Federal Reserve closer into the Treasury than it ever was before. And, it's just if he could get a sentence out and explain things calmly and not always being just blah, 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 blah. The Curry DeVore Consulting Group.
That's Mimi's imitation of me.
Yeah. No, really, I picked it up from her. And so you have RFK Jr., who's, I think people could be there could be a single voting issue. The only single voting issue we have in the United States right now is abortion and maybe trans rights. But everybody could be against war. Everybody could be against it. And Trump can do this. He has a record with this. And Kennedy Jr.
Yes, he has a positive record with a number of issues, war being one of them.
Yeah.
But instead, he gets down in he can't seem to bring himself up to the level of a Kennedy and be philosophical in a way that's meaningful. Now there is an example I have. It was on the last clip list. It was the last show.
Okay.
Of him discussing the education system calmly, and I don't know if it's on this clip list or not.
Trump on last week. I have it. Trump on education.
Yeah, play this. This is a policy discussion that is great. Never got played anywhere. There's other examples of stuff like this, and it just not what they want from Trump.
For many years, tuition costs at colleges and universities have been exploding, and I mean absolutely exploding, while academics have been obsessed with indoctrinating America's youth. The time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again and once and for all. These standards will include defending the American tradition and Western civilization, protecting free speech, eliminating wasteful administrative positions that drive up costs incredibly, removing all Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucrats, offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees, providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing college entrance and exit exams to prove that students are actually learning and getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
Great policy statement, couple problems. One, he's dividing. Leftists, Democrats, that is, you're not going to win the whole country with that. Same with DeSantis, with his anti-woke stuff. I'm not against what he's saying. Of course, the schools have become discriminatory. But the president shouldn't even be involved in the school in Fredericksburg. That should be the Fredericksburg people. And to a large degree, they have that right, and they are actually taking that. They're making use of that. I think Americans, maybe people all over the world, are tired of the government people at the top saying, we're going to do this, we're going to fix this, we're going to fix that. And they all hang on for dear life, and nothing happens because the president is not the king. And then he hires Pritzker. Douche of all douches from the douche family. I haven't forgotten that. So it just doesn't make any sense. I like the Marxist maniacs and lunatics. That I like. That's clearly a problem. No.
Well, you can't do much on the local level with schools like Harvard. It's not really run by the city government.
I understand that. But just schools in general. This problem is not, well, I guess it is because who's funding these schools? It's the big endowments. That's where all that comes from. You can't stop that.
It's the high tuitions. The endowments are accumulating. They're not being funded from the endowments.
The endowments determine the curriculum. They say, we'll give you this endowment, but you've got to do this curriculum. That's the way I understand it. But I'm just talking about the lower level. Just the kids who are being indoctrinated, told they're boys and girls when they're not.
Well, which brings me to my talk clips.
There we go.
Talk. TikTok.
Before we go there, can I just say one thing? Someone gave me a theory that I thought was really interesting, just relating to the Biden crime family. What if 10% for the big guy? What if the big guy is Obama? And we're just misinterpreting that to be Joe Biden.
Well, here's the reason I don't think that's the case.
I liked it.
Because Obama's a newbie, came in out of the blue as a coordinator from some charities in Chicago. Biden goes back 50 years in one of the most corrupt states of the country, Delaware.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just throwing it out there. Just so we got to keep it. There's a thread somewhere. There's a thread.
It may be that during the Obama administration, Biden was running it, for all we know.
Could be.
In fact, let me get off track and go away from TikTok for a minute and bring this up. I have this thesis about Biden always being a gigante, the chin, the guy around the Genovese family that walked around the Greenwich Village.
Peeing his pants in his
underwear, mumbling to himself.
Yeah, maybe.
Listen to this clip. This is Brooks on to Biden.
Brooks on to Biden.
At point, President Biden told reporters today that he has not talked to the Attorney General about this case and will not talk to him about it.
And that's utterly appropriate. Yeah. I would say even at longer term, though, I do think Biden is still underexposed. I think his staff is still overprotective of him. And he's much smarter in public than a lot of people think, and private. And so I do think they need to let him get out more, because it's just not good for the presidency for him to be that much in the shadow of Donald Trump. And that's been even without the indictment.
Couldn't he tell them that? Couldn't he tell his staff that if he felt that way? It's been said to me that the president believes that when you empower people to do their jobs, you listen to their advice. But if he agreed with you, couldn't he tell them, hey, I don't need to be so protected?
You would think so. And I will say, from what I hear inside the White House, he's not a doddering old grandpa either. He's could be a very tough, mean guy and a very harsh boss sometimes. So he could say that, but, he might be trusting, and maybe he wants to be as quiet and, frankly, as closed in as he's been.
You've this has been your theory previously about the Genovese, the old mafia guy?
Yeah, Gigante.
I like it. To me, it feels like there's a thread somewhere, and if someone pulls this one thread, everything comes undone. And I think the only way, if he truly is the mob boss, and he is the big guy, he has to call the hit on Hunter.
That's out of the blue.
Then I'll be in with your theory. Someone's got to do it. Hunter's a liability.
Yeah, Hunter's a liability. There's no denying that.
And it's I love my son. Mm-hmm. So no one wants to kill Hunter. I'm just theorizing here.
No, if that's a mob thing.
It's a mob thing.
That would happen.
And if he's truly the Abraham here of the mob family, he's going to have to sacrifice his kid. He's going to have to do it. If he does that, then, okay. Well, by the way, then it's all over. Then America is done for.
Well, okay. So we're going to go back to play the talk thing again. We're reset.
Talk.
TikTok. Reset. All right. We're resetting, everybody.
Now, before we again, I'm going to do a side off.
What? I'm going to do
before we play any of these talk clips. I want to play something that Mimi got for me.
Okay.
This is, and you have to remember, this is millions and millions of kids used to love Mr. Rogers.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Of course, I used to watch Mr. Rogers.
And it had to have some influence. I want to play. This is a song from one of his albums, and he obviously I never watched him. I don't know. I missed him.
Yeah,
and I couldn't put up with him.
You were a rebelling teenager, that's why.
I was telling you. So, but listen to this Mr. Rogers song.
Some are fancy on the outside. Some are fancy on the inside. Everybody's fancy. Everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so is mine. Boys are boys from the beginning. When you're born a boy baby, you grow up to be a bigger boy and then a man. Girls are girls right from the start. When you're born a girl baby, you grow up to be a bigger girl and then a woman. Everybody's fancy, everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so is mine. Girls grow up to be the mommies. Boys grow up to be the daddies. Everybody's fancy, everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so is mine.
Heresy, I tell you. Heresy.
Cruising for a cancellation.
He's dead. He's dead.
So let's go with...
Thank you, Mimi, for throwing us off track. Let's get back to some crazy people on TikTok.
Let's go back to the nutballs. And boy, are they in this case. Now, here's a noodle boy guy. He's I don't know, he's non-binary. I don't know what his pronouns are, or her pronouns, or whatever he is, but nose ring right through the middle one, and they're like the cow, and big giant earrings and wild makeup. And here he goes. This is the Asheville Noodle Boy.
Up until yesterday, I worked at Blunt Pretzels. I asked the general manager to stand up for trans rights and against our genocide, and he laughed in my face. The owner, his father is a Nazi. His son is the general manager. I have spent nearly a year expending so much emotional labor trying to make sure that I'm safe, including having 3-hour conversations with the general manager about why rape isn't funny. He has sat there and watched the owner be transphobic to me. He also watched and supported while he paid me less than everybody else. If you are in the Asheville area or Buncombe County, do not support Blunt Pretzels if you support trans people.
Yeah. Well, this is clearly mentally disturbed, momentarily mentally disturbed.
Or permanently.
No,
here's a woman. This is the armpit girl. This is a short clip. She just went on just to show that she has hairy armpits.
She got hairy armpits.
It's a big deal to her. But you have to note that she has a completely perfectly shaved bald head that's been shaved. So she got the shaved bald head,
yeah,
and the armpits, and here's the clip.
So I have this thing, call it a little quirk, if you will. I have hair in my armpits. I have it there for a few reasons. 1, lazy. 2, fuck the patriarchy. And 3, your response to them tells me everything I need to know about you.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Now, the thing is, if it's lazy, if she's so can keep her head bald.
Yeah.
But she's lazy, she says.
Yeah, that's bullcrap. I mean, I have multiple thoughts about that. I remember moving to Europe in the 70s and my mom being horrified. These women have hairy pits and hairy legs.
Got hairy legs.
They got hairy legs. So that doesn't bother me. I mean,
if you saw this one, she'd bother you.
I like that you're sitting at home watching this and getting all worked up over it. I kind of like that.
Worked up?
I like that. Like, I'm going to make a clip out of this.
And luckily, by the way, I should mention that now, because I've been doing these, I don't have to do any work because they are being sent to me.
It's just magic. Yeah. And you're like,
left and right. It's
I can't wait. Oh, I've got all the clips I need. I've got them all.
So here's the queer author. This is a long clip. I'm going to skip this one.
Oh, thank you. Long. I don't know if I can handle a long clip.
Let's listen to the white supremacy clip.
This commenter says, I'm perfectly fine with fat people, but WTF, do you mean Aryan? Fatphobia and racism are two completely separate things, but they're not. All bigotry in our culture is rooted in white supremacy. White supremacy sets an ideal, and any deviation from that ideal is discriminated against. Obviously, this goes for race, but it also includes the person's size. In our culture, skinny people are upheld as the ideal. There's also racism behind why skinniness is considered the ideal. Because as white women, we want to set ourselves apart from black women who stereotypically have curvier bodies. All bodies are beautiful, but white supremacy needs to hold up a singular ideal in order to maintain control.
Yeah, this is the education system. The media and TikTok probably, and this white supremacy. Whereas throughout history, in the Rubens period, thick women were found beautiful. In the black community, thick girls are more desired than thin girls. It changes. It changes over time.
It fluctuates.
Thank you. It fluctuates.
It's called a fashion.
Yes, it's called a fashion. Now, of course, there's some health issues that come in at a certain point, but that's why we have Ozempic, which we'll get to after we thank some people. But since you led me down this path, I do need to discuss a couple of things.
Before I get there, I want to at least play one pushback clip. And this is the Pride push ban in Massachusetts. And even though you can tell that the reporters on the news channel were
horrified.
They're horrified by this woman who's making nothing but sense.
These displays of intolerance and homophobia are unacceptable.
This type of intolerant rhetoric starts in the home.
Parents angry at town hall over intolerance at Marshall Simons Middle School. Kids were asked to wear rainbow clothes in honor of Pride Spirit Day, but some organized a counter-protest wearing red, white, and blue or black. The principal sharing a statement to families that Pride posters were ripped down, stickers ripped up. Some students chanted, "USA are my pronouns," and students showing pride were intimidated.
It was an unruly disruption, in fact, that was organized ahead of time.
While some parents were upset, others say it was overblown.
Some of the kids threw the stickers on the ground, but I can only speak for my daughter. She didn't want to wear that to school. It's not that she wanted to hurt anybody's feelings.
She says her daughter felt coerced to participate in the Pride event and was offended by some of the messages, like this quote from Tennessee Williams.
Human heart cannot be straight. It is curves and winds. And my daughter just kind of said, Mom, that's offensive to me, who I am straight.
But even parents like her, opposed to the Pride Month celebration, say the ripping of posters was wrong.
I think destructing any property is wrong. I think, I just think that was wrong.
Parents and community groups now calling for the town and school board to act and support diversity, equity, and inclusion. The incident sparking discussion at home on both sides.
My thing that I teach my kids is just be kind, and I wish the schools would just kind of pump the brakes on what they're shoving down these kids' throats.
The issue of pride in schools is very controversial. I understand that. I think we need to start at a place of commonality.
Now, the principal says that no one was forced to participate in the Pride Day event, but now parents on both sides want dialogue. Live in Burlington, Sean Shiabat, WCVB News Center 5.
Well, it was nice to hear people want dialogue, because this is more of what Kennedy calls the wages of war. We got to go to war. We got to go to war against them. Yeah. Couple of things I want to read before I play two clips here. So it's unraveling a little bit. The transitioning of children is starting to unravel. We're seeing clips coming out of the UK, and I didn't get those clips. You've probably seen it. It's like another one of those outrage things on social media.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, the kid says, hey, you can't identify as a cat. There's only two genders. The kid gets kicked out. The teacher comes in and says, this is what the authority says. The authority says you can be anything you want.
And these are 13-year-olds.
Yeah. And so this is the problem with government in your school. Is your government shouldn't be telling you whether you agree with it or not. The government should be telling you how your children should be learning or what they should be learning. But that's up to you if you want that. In 2016, there was a big MTV reality show about this kid called Milo, and Milo was born a girl but was definitely going to be a boy, and it was it went all through the transitioning, and now Milo is back after, 8-9 years, distraught. I can never have kids again. I regret getting hormone injections. My ovaries are dead. It's horrible, horrible things. Elliot Page, used to be Ellen Page, came out with this interview, and it's so horrific. This child was abused in Hollywood, sexually abused. And then, a therapist said, oh, you're clearly a boy. We'll fix that right up. I mean, anyone with a sound mind who reads this can see, no. There's something else going on with this person. There's a whistleblower now that exposes a hospital for performing sex change surgeries on minors. I mean, it's all coming out. People are not all in lockstep on this, no matter what the media thinks, no matter what politicians think. And even if the movie theaters think that they can ban, here's the clip.
Now the film's producers say that AMC theaters abruptly canceled all screenings of the documentary, caving to the demands of a trans rights group. AMC theaters declining to comment on the record about their decision to pull the release.
Now, what's interesting about this is this movie has just been rebranded to be put into theaters. It's called No Way Back, The Reality of Gender Affirming Care. It is the exact same movie as Generation Affirmation, which you can get on YouTube. So, everyone's kind of in it for their own reasons, I guess. But then this happened in Arkansas as, these horrible genocidal anti-trans laws are being put in by Republicans who are Nazis. Now judges are overturning them. And Amy Goodman, I have to say, unfortunately...
Warning. Amy Goodman clip inbound.
Had a report that was usable for us.
A federal judge has struck down Arkansas's first-in-the-nation ban on gender-affirming care for transgender youth. Judge James Moody Jr. ruled the ban to be unconstitutional because it discriminates against transgender people and violates the rights of doctors. In his decision, Moody wrote, quote, rather than protecting children or safeguarding medical ethics, the evidence showed the prohibited medical care improves the mental health and well-being of patients, and that by prohibiting it, the state undermined the interests it claims to be advancing, unquote. One of the plaintiffs who sued Arkansas over the ban was a 17-year-old trans student named Dylan Brandt, who responded to the ruling by saying, quote, transgender kids across the country are having their own futures threatened by laws like this one, and it's up to all of us to speak out, fight back, and give them hope, unquote.
So I looked at the judge's opinion, and the judge's opinion literally says the science is in that children who get the gender affirming care they deserve will not commit suicide. And so you can boil down this whole debate to the truth of the matter, to what does the science really say, and then the abstraction of that is, would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son, or a dead son or living daughter? But it's usually a dead daughter, living son, because it's 80% is the girls. So that is the psyop, because the actual science is only 3 years old that the judge is citing.
The other thing is interesting is obviously this case depended on whatever the expert witness was.
I can tell you, it is the Arkansas chapter of American Academy of Pediatrics, the Arkansas Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of OBGYN, the American Academy of Child Adolescent Psychologists, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the Arkansas Psychological Association, and other scientific and medical organizations who all recognize the effectiveness and safety of gender-affirming medical care. The studies are only max 3 years old. That's who they have as their expert witnesses. So fine. Maybe you should look at Europe, who have literally come out and said there are no long-term studies that show this. And in fact, that it's 19% of people who transition wind up suicidal. So it's phony baloney science. It's just like the jab will, it's 80% effective, 70, 60, 50. You won't get horribly ill. You won't be in the hospital. Get a booster. It's because people believe the
medical
science.
System that allows this to develop in this way is corrupted.
Yes. And personally, I think, look, if your kid's a minor and you're all in on this and you want to abuse your kid, have at it. If you're all in and you're there every single step of the way, well, then then that'll be up to you and your parent and whatever else, your kids.
But when some of these kids go on a murder spree,
but you can't have schools doing this. There's schools now who are doing this on the sly. Midwest teachers trade tips on subversively and quietly transitioning kids without telling parents. That's the stuff that should be outlawed. But if you really think you're a good parent, all right, have at it. But then be ready for the consequences. And so, I can understand why these laws are seen as unconstitutional. If there's parental consent, what are you going to do? But they should at least go out and get some good information. And this psyop of would you rather, I've seen it happen so many times. Do you want a dead daughter or a living son? And he'll commit suicide if you don't give this to your daughter. That is just factually not true. And so there's no other debate, really. There's just no other debate. That's all that it has to be. And so what this has gone, now we're down to the book bannings, which is also something that only...
My favorite.
Well, in Utah, do you know that 90 parents went in and said, and they got the Bible taken out of the school because it has horrible, horrific things in it, which is true. That's an interesting move they made. And it got overturned and the Bible is back. But, yeah, I mean, so...
It's
tricky.
Slick.
It's slick. It's very tricky. But the bottom line is the science is just not in on this stuff. That's all. And that's what these movies show. That's the problem. That's whatever happened.
Banning the information, there's a giveaway there that there's something amiss.
That's exactly right. I feel like that myself. What are you drinking today, Johnny boy?
Polar seltzer, 100% natural.
It's 100%, he said.
100%.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in scandalous. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to my friend on the other end, the one and only Mr. John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, the old ships at sea. Boots on the ground, air, feet in the air, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames out. Nights out there.
All right. And we count 1,915 trolls at this moment, 1,915. So that's up for a Sunday. That's good, all things considered. Seeing as we lost at least 5 people in that sub. You said subs in the water. I don't know if they're going to hear it, John. They ran out of air this morning. It's not good.
I thought today was Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. What did I say?
Well, you said Sunday.
I'm on drugs. You know
Thursday,
what?
It's a lousy number.
It's a crap number.
No, I'm sorry. It's a good number. Sunday is a lousy number.
It would be lousy
for Sunday. It's a lousy number.
It's a good number for Thursday. I had my new teeth put in yesterday. My new temps, actually.
Okay.
Does it sound good?
Yeah, you sound fine. Doesn't sound any different to me.
Okay. Well, I think I'm more happy right now. I'm happier. 1,915. Good to have you here, trolls. I want to remind everybody that this is the donation segment. This is where we play the special clip as well as give you the magic number. And we always have our interview here with our guest of the week. So you pretty much want to stay tuned because this is where all the magic happens. And it'll be a quick one, too. It'll be a very quick donation segment. If you, a lot of people are like, I can't get in the troll room. Should I use an IRC client? I don't know how to work it. Trollroom.io doesn't load. It's a very simple fix for that. Give up your legacy podcast app. Get a podcast. If you're not listening to a podcast in a podcast app, what's wrong with you? This is why we made this whole technology, so you could have your own personal radio that you program. This is what's so beautiful about it. One app does it all, and all of these apps now at podcastapps.com, they give you the an alert signal when we go live. You can hear the show live. Like if you use Podverse, you get the chat right there. CurioCaster, all these things.
Listen in your car?
In your car, yes. And with some of the newer ones, I haven't instituted that yet on our show, but we can actually change the art on the fly just for yucks, so you'll see it on your dashboard. We can do all kinds of fun things live while we're doing it. Live! You can also follow John and myself on noagendasocial.com, John C. Dvorak at noagendasocial.com, Adam at noagendasocial.com, which a lot of people find a great place to find the No Agenda community. You can argue with people if you want. It has that social media aspect of it, but you can also organize. You can, trade job opportunities. People use it for all kinds of things. And, of course, shitpost memes all day, which seems to be the top use of our server. We're very, very proud of that.
Close.
It is a free speech zone, so approach with caution. And you can, of course, follow us from any Mastodon account anywhere that recognizes how horrible we are and still lets you subscribe to us. Because, free speech. As part of our value for value model, you can help this show and continue its success in many ways. We have clip custodian, clip collectors. We have all kinds of people who help us with stories. I got some great boots on the ground coming up, like really good UPS driver and a Honda Renta UPS driver, both with boots on the ground reports. Pretty good stuff when you find out what's really going on, and of course what you're being told in the media. You can run servers for us for all kinds of things. I mean, the latest and greatest is bingit.io, which is just phenomenal. If you want to go look something up we talked about, you can find it. Click on the link. It'll play. Is that a brood chicken or is that a real chicken?
It's a tumor.
But we also need finances because John and I have no other job and we have bills to pay. So we appreciate everybody and anybody, even if it's $3 a month. All of that is good. The beauty of our system is you don't have to do it. Now, we have about 900,000 people a month who are listening to the show, and a very small amount. What do we have today? Like 35 donors, above the line donors? That's a small amount who are supporting us financially. And
we need the other people to think about it.
Think about it would be a nice way to go. I'm going to tell you right up front, the way to learn about supporting the show financially is at this website. Dvorak.org/NA. And one of the important value pieces that we receive in return for the show that we bring to you twice a week is the artwork. We like to put a new piece of artwork into our MP3 and on the promotional things where we say, hey, we've got a new show. We feel it looks great in all the apps, and we are pretty traditional when it comes to the big holidays like Christmas and Father's Day and Veterans Day and Mother's Day. And so we always look for something that's special. I think the choice we made for episode 1565, we titled it Clop, for the big Move It hack, was a Father's Day piece, even though there was kind of the Father's Day donations were a little lousy, less than stellar. This piece of artwork struck a lot of people. People loved it. It was done by Francisco Scaramanga. And it was a little baby knight handing some flowers, I'm not sure if it was roses, but some red flowers to a daddy knight. And it was just the cutest thing. It was one of the. It was so incredibly cute, and people really picked up on it. And I think that's why we have at least 100 people more listening live today than we normally had. This artwork drew them in. Like, these guys can't be all Nazi. Look at this cute picture. So we appreciate that, Francisco Scaramanga. And we had a number of pieces to choose from, which you can follow along while we discuss this.
Actually, I think I was preferring something, and then we both agreed on this, the robot. What was it?
Yeah, I
could be wrong.
You liked, hold on a second. You can follow
I like the non-birthing caretaker. I like the Mao, but Monsieur Perry.
Yes.
Happy non-birthing caregiver day.
Yeah, with Mao.
It's the piece I like.
Yes, and
you just thought it was a mess, and it was, and you were colorblind, and you couldn't see it, and it was you didn't like it anyway, and then you had no other choice, and then
hold on a second. Hold on. I said it's a mess.
That's what I said.
Then I said, but that may be because it's a lot of dots and colors that I have issues with my so-called color blindness. And we kind of left it at that because then we both looked at the Scaramanga piece.
Oh, yeah, it's head and shoulders.
It's a beautiful piece. It really is.
The one my pick was based on the humor kind of it.
Yeah.
Belittling the holiday somewhat.
Which is always, we don't like to belittle the holiday. We are traditional.
Heaven forbid we do that.
We're traditional, man.
Then we got the robot.
You can follow along at noagendaartgenerator.com. You can become an artist yourself and just create an account, upload to noagendaartgenerator.com. It's not an easy task. These artists do this while listening live, and so the minute we're done, I find an opening clip and I've marked them during the show. We decide on that. We do the credits and then we go to the artwork. And then, by then we hope to have everything in. We give the artist a couple extra minutes there to finish up. So it's not an easy thing to do, but if you got the skills, then,
yeah, it's kind of...
I hate Father's Day because you always get these new sound machines and then you just overdo it. Use them sparingly.
How about this one?
Yeah, it sounds like a bagpipe being accosted.
Mimi got this for me. It is a turkey call.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like a turkey.
It does. We have turkeys around here and they yell at you. They make noise.
Noise. Well, okay. So I want you to go out after the show and lure a turkey in with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They'll be all in the front yard. I'll take a picture.
If you're using a modern podcast app, you'll see all of these different pieces of artwork because most of them get displayed in the chapters, which Dreb Scott does for us. Another great, valuable addition to the show, and we appreciate that. So when you're driving, you will see these just changing as chapters and topics change. And he takes a lot of the artwork from No Agenda, and probably most of the artwork from No Agenda Art Generator. So thank you very much, Francisco Scaramanga, and all of the artists who submit their work. We appreciate it, and we hope everybody gets their shot at the leaderboard. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Now, let us thank our executive and associate executive producers for episode 1566. $200 and above, $300 and above is executive producer. $200 above is associate executive producer. These are credits that you keep for eternity. They are real credits, so you can use them anywhere. It's no different from the Hollywood stuff. There is a difference, actually. We'll vouch for you if someone ever questions that you are an executive or associate executive producer of the No Agenda show and the episode. We'll always do that for you. And we kick it off with Stephen Hutto from St. Petersburg, Florida. $452. And I'm not sure why that amount, but he sent us a picture of his odometer, which said 33,300 miles. And he says, I knew it was time to donate when I saw the odometer, courtesy of my 2017 Lexus SUV. He does not drive a lot, I guess. 33,000 miles doesn't seem like a lot for 6 years, does it? Is that a lot?
This 5,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
Some people, unless you have a commute, that's pretty common.
Yeah. And he says, no jingles, no karma.
So like my mileage, I don't drive it.
No jingles, no karma. So we will not give you jingles or karma. Thank you very much for your support.
Well, he's come in before, and I haven't heard from him for a while. I'm glad to hear from him. Bowman McMahon in Utopia, Texas, came in with 2 333.33 donations, which makes me wonder if one's a mistake, and there's no note to be found anywhere, even though Jay's freaked out about it. So we don't know what.
I love. She goes, check your emails. Check your emails, gentlemen. There's no note. There's 2 of these donations. It does seem kind of weird. He'd have 2 identical donations and no note. So
I'm taking it. I'm of the opinion that we're going to end up losing half of this money.
It's okay. We're happy to return it if that was a mistake.
Yeah, and also a note would be nice. So we'll read anything he has to say.
We'll give him the double up karma that we usually hand out in these cases.
You've got
double up
karma.
Where is in fact Utopia, Texas?
I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's actually that far from here, to be honest.
You know where Rocket, Texas is?
No. Texas is big,
man.
I've
been to Rocket, Texas.
What'd you do in Rocket, Texas?
Well, that's where they had the big giant super collider they were building, and I was given a tour of it.
Is it still there?
No. It's this is George Bush project. Was it George Bush or Ronald Reagan? I can't remember. Whoever was, I think Obama killed it or Clinton killed it.
Someone killed it.
Democrats killed it because it was going to work. And so when I was in Rocket, Texas, that's when I was introduced to consider some of the greatest chicken fried steak at some cafe whose name I've forgotten in Rocket, Texas.
Yeah, we definitely cannot have anything like that working. That would ruin the oil industry. Why even do it in Texas, you numbnuts?
Well, it was for research purposes. It wasn't really going to hurt the oil industry. But anyway, onward.
Chris Engler in Ancaster, Ontario, Canada. We're already at associate executive producer. $250.73. I wonder if he's a ham. 73s. This donation is a 50th birthday gift to myself, a belated happy birthday to my nephew, Eli, and a happy belated Father's Day to my dad, Fritz. I'd appreciate a birthday foamer jingle. Go podcasting.
Oh, my God! Woo! Listen to that horn!
There you go. Happy birthday. If he is a ham, by the way, this Saturday is field day. So you got to be breaking out the rig. Got to be...
break out your rigs, people.
Get on battery power.
Sir Christopher in Elrod, Alabama. 222 Road Ducks 22222. Switcheroo to honor my smoking hot wife, Kim, for her birthday on the 23rd.
You got it, Kim.
Can I get a biscuit for her birthday?
They always give me a biscuit on my birthday.
And all the Sharpton you can bear. Thank you both for all you do, Sir Christopher, Knight of the Sipsey Valley.
And is it just Kim, right? Because we don't have Sir Christopher. I guess that's his first name, so we'll just put in Kim. Sir Loud Pipes in Charlotte, North Carolina. Also a short row of ducks, 222.22.
You didn't give a Miss Sharpton jingle.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. No, I didn't misunderstand. I just didn't listen. Hey, that's what I did wrong.
RESPICT.
It's just such a classic. Can always listen to that one. Sir Loud Pipes, Charlotte, North Carolina. Also the short row of ducks, 222.22. Row of ducks for the cause. I have not heard this in a while, but I need a D-douche bag check. Oh, hold on a second. Bag check. Yeah, we had a jingle for that. Yeah, D-douche. D-douche bag check.
Douche bag check. Douche bag check.
So he needed that for his buddy Jay. Onward, Sir Loud Pipes, Baron of Mecklenburg County. Thank you very much.
John Spiegel. It's actually pronounced Spiegel.
There you go.
But it looks like Spiegel, but it's pronounced Spiegel. Rochester, New York. Switcheroo, I'm making this Father's Day donation on my dad's name, Steven Spiegel. We both have been listening to the show for a couple of years, and we regret that it took so long to find it. Yeah, it takes everyone a long time to find it. It's a podcast. Please de-douche him.
You've been de-douched.
This donation is the least I can do. And that's not the least you can do.
Yeah, you could do a lot more.
And I always do the least. for the man that introduced me to the three most important things in my life: Jesus Christ, critical thinking, and skiing.
Wow.
Please hit him with some Al Sharpton, Resist Me Much, and the Jitty Jingles. Happy Father's Day to my dad and to all the fathers out there. And thank you, John and Adam, and keep up the good work. John Spiegel, Rochester, New York.
But resist we much. We must and we will much about that be committed.
The GOP infighting is escalating. Politico says Democrats are outright jitty, happy to watch the GOP implode.
I was as I'm looking for these. Do you remember this one?
We much. We jitty.
Yeah.
We down.
I'm going to put that in the end of show. That's like a minute.
That's a good song, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the end of show. That's pretty funny. Okay. Let me do that now. Can you do the next one while I put this in the end of
Linda
show?
Lupatkin is in Lakewood, Colorado. Jobs karma for all the job hunters out there, and for a competitive edge, go to ImageMakersInc.com for all your executive resume and job search needs. Or just find Linda Lupatkin under the show's executive producer list and run a search.
Yeah.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
And yes, we wind it up with...
Yeah, last on the list is Chris O'Blenis in Jackson, Wyoming. No note. So that's $200 and give him a double up karma.
You got it. Here we go.
You've got karma.
Well, spoiler alert, we have no nightings today.
Again.
Yes, again. And we can go pretty quickly. There's not a lot, actually. So if you just take us through the 50s, we'll move on and do our birthdays and get to the second half of show with a sound effect.
All right, we'll start with Deborah de Chatier, or Shetler, the Shetler. And she is in for $150, and I have to read this because it's switcheroo. I'm donating as a de-douching birthday gift to the love of my life, Mike Mezek, who turned me on to your show. Tell him his koala loves him very much. So give him a de-douche.
You've been de-douched.
All right, then we go with Hacken, which is pronounced some other way, I'm guessing.
No, it's good. No, it's Hacken.
Hacken Andresen.
Andresen. It's Hacken Andresen.
Well, it's Andresen, isn't it? Andresen's got two E's.
No, it's Andresen. I know. I have it on good authority.
Portland, Oregon. Sorry to hear that part. $150. Laughed out loud when he heard us trying to pronounce his name. Jason Bible, or Bibble.
Oh, Bible. Actually, his donation, Hackon, is a switcheroo for his brother, Mads K.
Oh,
Anderson.
sorry, I should have read that. Yeah, Mads K.
Yeah, and he's got a birthday coming up, so that's why he switcherooed it, and we'll make it so.
Jason Bible in Austin, Texas, 12012. Mary Smith in Stewart, Florida, $100. Rob and Sir Steve in San Jose, California, $100. This is a switcheroo for Peter Boyle Jr.
Oh, last week he and his wife lost their beloved companion of 17 years, Ben the cat.
17 years is a long time for a cat.
Yeah, that is a long time for a cat.
Ian Field, $100. Sean Mountain in Nuevo, California, $100. Ben Lillard in Prosper, Texas, 8888. Sir Kevin McLaughlin never misses a beat, and here he is from Locust, North Carolina with 8008. Boobs. Jason Maurer in Vancouver, Washington, 8008. More boobs. Richard Hufford in Tempe, Arizona, 8008. Boobs. Rita Harrington in Sparks, Nevada, 6533. Alex in Jedov, he's in Czechoslovakia.
Jevodnice. I'll say Jedovnice.
He's in Czechia.
Yes.
6006. CZ used to be Czechoslovakia. Czechia nowadays. Not the Czech Republic.
I think Alex is one of our trans listeners.
Oh.
Transgester.
John Pajtas in Corunna, Michigan, 60. Subodh Peth in Metairie, Louisiana, 5866. Got a birthday coming up. Jacob Long in Ladenburg, Pennsylvania, 5432, and 5432, and this is a switcheroo for his dad, Jim Bob.
I just got to go back to Subodh. Subodh is getting to that age when I started to put my affairs in order. I was researching donating my body to a medical school right when I heard the story about the rats on No Agenda. I took it as an omen to donate. About the heads, the severed heads and the rats.
On the desk.
Yeah. See, we're saving you of a humiliation.
Can you de-douche Dad Jim Bob?
Yes, I can.
You've been de-douched.
Savranis Murty, a notorious Brahmin in Culpeper, Virginia. I guess he also works for the agency. 5271. Brian Richardson in Aurora, Illinois, 5069.
And wants us to mention the Aurora, Illinois meetup coming up on the 25th. Done.
He's on the list.
Yep.
Go to noagendameetups.com. Bob Butler in Cumming, Georgia, 5069. There's a North Georgia meetup tonight, too. Miles in Charlottesville, Virginia, 5033. Forrest Martin, 5005. Madison Thurman in Longville, Washington, 5001. Another switcheroo. Please add Nate Thurman. Add to Nate Thurman's knighthood. Okay, well, he can do that too. Joe Oswald in Lithia, Florida, 50. Oh, here we go. These are all $50 donors. Let's start with Joe Oswald and go on to Chris Cowan in Austin, Texas. Andrew Gusick in Greensboro, North Carolina. Mason Thurman in Longville, Washington. Christy Jones. Oh, Nate Thurman's a switcheroo too. It's Mason Thurman's for Nate Thurman. Christy Jones in Demarest, Georgia. Matt Illingworth in Montclair, New Jersey. Robert Case in Mill Spring, North Carolina. Julian Robbins in Aptos, California. Nicholas Rudowich in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Daniel LeBoy in Bath, Michigan. Tatiana Prince in Hollywood, Florida. Sir Patrick Maycomb in New York City. Robert Hanna in Poway, California. Luke Rayner in London, UK. Sir John in Heber Springs, Arkansas. And last on the list is Michael Statham. Michael Statham, no relation, $50. We want to thank all these folks for making the show 1566 the show that it is.
And thank everyone who came in under $50. You're on sustainable donations, or just that's what you can afford. That's always appreciated. It is value for value. We can't look in your pocketbook. Whatever you find the show, whatever value it is to you, send that back to us. We would appreciate it if anyone just send it back to us, no matter what it is. It's all appreciated. You don't have to be an executive or an associate executive producer. Oh, God. Oh, what are you doing, man? Are you okay? Was that... Please go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And thank you again to our executive and associate executive producers for supporting us for 1566.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Shut up,
squirrel.
Shut up, slave. It's your birthday. Oh, no agenda.
And here is our list. Subodh Peth celebrated on the 18th. Hakon Andresen wishing his brother Mads K. Andresen a happy birthday for today. Sir Christopher wishes his smoking hot wife Kim a happy birthday for tomorrow. Deborah DeShelter wishes the love of her life Mike Messick a happy birthday. Chris Engler, happy birthday to Eli, his nephew. It's a belated happy birthday. He turned 6. And Chris Engler himself is celebrating. Happy birthday to everybody here from the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah. Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't wanna be a douchebag.
We have a non-douchebag, Sir Nathan Lee, who is changing his title. He becomes a baronet, and hereby we bequeath him with the title Sir Nathan Lee, Baronet of the Leo Moon and Everything Country Son, First Horse of Armageddon. Yes, he also has the longest baronet title in the universe. Thank you very much, Sir Nathan Lee.
No agenda meetups.
No Agenda Meetups, the companion to listening to the program. Without it, you are really kind of incomplete. You need the connection for your very own protection. You learn everything here, but you got to be able to talk to people about it. You have to exchange ideas. Go to one of the No Agenda Meetups. They are everywhere around the world. They're taking place. Got a quick meetup report from the 3rd Northwest Houston meetup. The Viscount Sir Economic Hitman hosted that. He had Andrea and her dad, Sir Sorted Out, as well as Grey Knight 33 Kyle and Octo Pete. David Nelson and Muhammad all showed up, all really smart people who were fun to talk to. The next meetup will be in July. Join the Houston NA Telegram group to help plan it. This is another thing. Once you're a part of these meetups, there's all kinds of offline groups, or not offline, but groups that are on Telegram and other networks, Discord servers, all kinds of things. People self-organize. And when you get events, people are able to actually organize things that are important within the group, like when we had with Snowpocalypse in Austin. Sir Scott, Baron Scott, man, he was taking care of all kinds of people. So remember to do that. No Agenda Meetups. We have a report from the North Idaho Sanity Brigade here.
It's Sir Scott the Jew here at the Selkirk Abbey, once again, in North Idaho. And, dude, honestly, this meetup kind of sucks because Dana Brunetti's not here. I don't see any transgender people. There's nobody playing the sitar.
ITM from Sir JMO Black Baron in North Idaho. I need to make it to more of these meetups. This has just been an awesome night.
Sir Devo here, shape-shifting back to the land of Bob Dylan. Be back in September.
Brian here, registered spook of the meetup, reminding everyone that train's good, plane's bad.
What an epic meetup.
Sir Devo played the bagpipe, and I missed it.
Yeah, they sent me a picture. Sir Devo actually did play the bagpipes at that meetup. This is the kind of stuff you will not get anywhere else at a No Agenda meetup. And today you can go to the Say Hello to Summerpalooza at Riverside Park in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Underway now, I believe. The North Georgia monthly meetup at 6 o'clock at Cherry Street Brewing, Alpharetta, Georgia. On Saturday, Chattanooga Fear is Freedom meetup for 40s and Foul at Champy's Chicken in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And the Star Chamber of Idaho at Beers Guy Saloon on Saturday. Star Idaho. Mo Agenda Schemes at Beverage Place Pub in Seattle, Washington. That'll be at 3:30 on Saturday. On Sunday, the next show day, the Real Fox Valley Meetup, 2 o'clock at Two Brothers Roundhouse in Aurora, Illinois. And the Morrow Woodness at 3 o'clock JCD time, it says here, Pacific Trails End Tap House in Snohomish, Washington. Just a couple of the No Agenda meetups coming up between now and the next show. A reminder, if you're in Cannes, France, living it up with all the advertising hucksters, or I guess it'll be over by then, but on the 9th of July, there will be a meetup there, and many more around the United States, Canada, and Europe. Go to noagendameetups.com to find out more. And remember, if you can't find one near you, start one. It's easy.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You want to be where everybody feels the same. It's like a party.
It is just like a party. I only have 2 ISOs. I don't think they're very good. What do you have?
I only have 1 ISO.
Well, let me play your 1 ISO here. I have it. Okay, let's listen to it.
Hush up, boy.
Okay, I kind of like that one. I have...
It's chicken.
No, it's not understandable. This one?
Ugh. Yuck.
No, I think Hush Up Boy wins. Hands down.
Hush up, boy.
Yeah. Not racist at all. Love it. Biden, the gangster.
Keeps on giving.
Yeah, he's the gangster. You may be right about that. I like how you figured that one out. So I wanted to read these 2 notes because they came in almost back to back about UPS. So they're talking about their strike, and you remember we talked about this, right? The UPS. Yep. He says, "This is UPS Chris. In the morning, John Adam writing this boots on the ground report regarding Adam's recent coverage of the impending UPS strike. I am a relatively new member of the Teamsters Union as a full-time driver at UPS for 2 years. Your deconstruction of this segment was superb. The key issue you did mention is that the corrupt past president of the union, James Hoffa, was able to push through a contract in 2018 that the members had voted down by 54%. This 2/3 rule has since been abolished by the current president of the union, Sean O'Brien. This contract allowed the company to implement 2-tiered wage system for full-time drivers. COVID conveniently happened, and then the company, which it typically never does, started to hire tons of new full-timers off the street due to massive increase in volume. The full-time rate as a driver after 4 years at UPS is $42.50 an hour. Due to the sketchy language in the current contract, there are full-time drivers doing the same work for significantly less. About 20 to 25 an hour. So we see the disparity here. Now, these are still good rates, but the key here is to see through what the media portrays as wins for the union. No mention of increasing pensions, increasing part-timer pay to offset the massive turnover, creating more even paying full-time jobs, etc. And the air conditioning is indeed a joke. We love our jobs. We drive with the doors open in and out hundreds of times a day. We don't need AC. Any veteran driver can show you the way when it comes to cooling down off the job. So then I got a note from an Amazon UPS Honda driver. And he says, oh, yeah, I want to give you boots on the ground. Amazon drivers that are using their Hondas to deliver packages for no money is absolutely true. This is, UPS outsources the Amazon packages that UPS is supposed to deliver to these guys in their Hondas. I'm one of them. The way it works is Amazon has a subcontracting program called Amazon Flex. They tout it to be the greatest gig ever. Work when you want, earn $22 an hour. But what they do not tell you is they only offer work in 2, 3, and 4 hour blocks. So getting a full day's work is next to impossible, and you are to spend some more time checking for the offers than working them. They overhire to keep a liquid workforce and offer distribution in first come, first serve. You're battling people for the offers. If you see an offer on your phone, then a bunch of other people see the same thing. The first one to accept it gets it. It's almost like bidding war over the work that they can keep the base rate for blocks very low. They treat you like a delivery drone. So there's a very long note, which I'm not going to read all verbatim, but he says that at first, when you start the program, you get all these offers and, you get, Whole Foods 3 blocks away. This is great. And then the offers start to dry up. And he says, then all of a sudden I get a 4-hour warehouse block where I have to drive for 2 hours, 100 miles for $66. Basically, I'm driving for free. And of course, once you accept it's like Uber. It's like, oh, here comes an offer. Boom, you go. And then you start not getting these pieces of work. And here's the problem. He found out that there's no secure connection, as he calls it, between the offers and the app that you use to hit the offers with. And there's a whole bunch of bots and app bots that can usurp these offers before it goes into alert mode on the phone. So typically, you've got your phone on, you get a bloop, you get alert, you tap on it, you try and get it right away, and it's always gone. That's because they figured out, unscrupulous individuals have figured out how to grab that before it becomes alert, and they're scooping up all the money. And he says this thing is a total scam. In addition to that, all the call centers are outsourced to India, so if something doesn't work or something's gone wrong, I can't communicate with the people. They don't understand me. I don't understand them. And he gives a whole bunch of links to GitHub repos if you want to get in on the scam and get those offers early. But this does not sound like the UPS that we love and adore as the king of queens type job. It's just they're diluting it into cheap gig work, which is probably why a lot of the packages and delivery sucks. And I thank these two gentlemen for their courage, for bringing us the boots on the ground. We never would have known about this.
Okay.
Then I have some climate change stuff we need to discuss. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can do
climate change, Bill.
I could do climate change. No, actually, let me do some big pharma. That's better. I'll do what time are we at? Yeah, I'll do just a couple here. Dr. Jen is Jitty, all about the new COVID shots coming this fall. Get ready, everybody. You'll want to have them. You want to be get right in on that action.
All right, we're talking about a new vaccine, pretty much an update.
For COVID. So let me tee this up for you guys. Remember how when there was all this confusion about which vaccine, when to get the vaccine, the booster, the new variant version, all of this as it was evolving over the last 3 years. Now we have word from the FDA that we can expect in this country this fall to have a newer COVID-19 vaccine that incorporates the latest circulating strains, just as we do with the influenza vaccine. Which is good news, right? Because before we had the bivalent booster, we were still using the same vaccine from the original wild-type coronavirus genetic fingerprint.
Notice what she says, from the original wild-type coronavirus genetic fingerprint, i.e. you didn't have the virus.
From the original wild-type coronavirus genetic fingerprint, we need to evolve the vaccines to be current with the strains that are circulating. So,
didn't they have all these? Oh, this new booster is upgraded for the Omicron. This new booster.
Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah.
Now all of a sudden we were still using the old wild type.
Well, I think she's just full of shit.
Well, she's Dr. Jen.
Vaccine from the original wild type coronavirus genetic fingerprint. We need to evolve the vaccines to be current with the strains that are circulating. So XBB 1.5, as if that doesn't just roll off the tip of your tongue, that's most likely going to be in the fall version. But they have to make this calculated guesstimate as to what will be circulating in the country.
That's what I want.
Yeah, a guesstimate. Yeah, just like the flu vaccine. It's a guesstimate.
I want a guesstimate.
Calculated guesstimate as to what will be circulating in the country. Now, the benefit of this new mRNA technology is that within 100 days...
We have a new mRNA technology now?
Yeah, it's called guesstimate. Yeah, it's a guesstimation.
Benefit
it's going on and on about nothing.
To what will be circulating in the country. Now, the benefit of this new mRNA technology is that within 100 days, we should be able to turn around a vaccine according to the circulating strain.
Within 100 days.
Yeah, 3 months about that time. But they're already working on the one that we should be able to be getting in the fall. So
and you mentioned that flu vaccine, how we get the flu every fall. This is going to become just one of those things we get?
Yes, exactly. Unless you're in a high-risk group, and then you might need it more frequently. But I cannot emphasize this enough. So few Americans have got.
Yeah, well, if you're a high risk group, you're whatever that is. I guess
a booster's a booster. The shot's a shot. What do you need more than one?
Because you're a high risk group. We need to kill you.
Emphasize this enough. So few Americans have gotten that bivalent booster. It's part of the reason why our COVID death rates have dropped down so much.
How did it become bivalent?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Why don't you toot your horn every single time she says it?
Okay, I'm sorry with the horn.
It's a little much, It's baggy trousers. It's a little much. Anyway, so bivalent, whatever. But on Sunday, they had the Today Show with the longest native ad I've ever seen.
What, did you put it on the timer?
Yeah, it was like 7 minutes.
Oh, that's beyond a native ad.
It's all native ad, and
that's like buying time.
Yes. Well, if you listened, and I only clipped a couple minutes of it, I just had to stop. I think it's an overall industry native ad from Novo Novartis. Novo Novartis, they are the inventors of semaglutide, which is used by.
Which make it sound like some sort of.
Yes, that's correct. Which is used by Ozempic and Wegovy. But the emphasis was on Ozempic. They did throw in some Wegovy, but they really said, parent company. And we know from the UK that the parent company, Novartis, was caught marketing and paying for marketing, which is illegal in the UK. Here, it's just regular old business.
Oh, yeah. It's doing business as usual.
So listen how the music changes, how the what the doctors are saying, because
where'd you get this again? Let's back up.
Today Show. Today Show Sunday edition.
So they're playing music over the segment on the Today Show?
December of 2017, a medication for the treatment of type 2 diabetes called semaglutide was approved by the FDA. It was sold under the brand name Ozempic. In recent months, the drug has become a national phenomenon for a different benefit: weight loss. The talk of Hollywood red carpets and suburban book clubs.
By the way, notice he says it was the FDA approved it, but it wasn't for weight loss. They approved it for diabetes. It just misses that small little detail.
Ozempic is effective, but is it safe for everyone who's using it? NBC News senior medical correspondent Dr. John Torres has our Sunday Focus.
For decades, it's been an obsession for millions of Americans.
Are you ready to do the workout?
How to drop those extra pounds. In the old days, it was all about exercise and eating better. But now, people looking to lose weight have a new tool in their arsenal.
Baby, the hype is real.
Prescription drugs called semaglutide that come in a now unmistakable pen. Ozempic and Wegovy, the brand names for semaglutide drugs that were developed to help people with type 2 diabetes and patients with obesity, but with a desirable side effect: weight loss.
Oh, up to 12 pounds.
Big names like Elon Musk, Amy Schumer, and Chelsea Handler have admitted taking it. And from celebrities to social media influencers, this trend has taken the weight loss world by storm.
Everybody looks so great. When I look around this room, I can't help but wonder, is Ozempic right for me?
The ads from parent company Novo Nordisk and similar ones for other drugs like Mounjaro from Lilly are inescapable, plastered over Instagram and Facebook, shaking up the $75 billion weight loss market. Popular programs like Weight Watchers and Noom are joining the craze, acquiring and launching telehealth programs to offer the drugs along with their diet tracking subscriptions, part of a strategy that recognizes obesity as a chronic and potentially deadly disease.
This is so evil what these people are doing, and they throw in the, is it safe? Yeah, it's great. It's a tool. It's great. Celebrities use it. Everyone should have it. It's fantastic.
How important is it that Weight Watchers and Noom are now introducing these weight loss drugs?
Weight Watchers and Noom, get your app now.
For their clients.
We can't shoulder this burden alone, and I appreciate that industry is trying to step up to the plate.
Wow. Industry's trying to step up to the plate. Thank you, industry. Thank you. Thank you, Weight Watchers, that you're helping humanity.
Ozempic works by mimicking a gut hormone called glucagon-like peptide 1, or GLP-1, which regulates insulin levels, reduces appetite, and allows patients to feel fuller longer. The higher dosage marketed as Wegovy has been FDA approved to treat people who are overweight or obese, but is not recommended for people who don't meet that standard, with some doctors sounding the alarm on using the drug for vanity.
If you're doing this for a short-term gain, you're not going to get that long-term benefit and that sustained success that we want for patients that actually do struggle with disease.
So it's a disease. If you're not really overweight, you just want to look great, then you use the Ozempic. Otherwise, you've got the Wegovy. These people are shameless. And by the way, here's where you can get it: Noom and Weight Watchers. This is where I stopped it. This is the problem. This is the problem right here. And I'm going to say it right now. Put it in the Red Book. We're going to find out that it turns out people who used Ozempic and Wegovy, they're dying. We didn't expect that. It just feels like it's another death thing.
Well, the problem is, the way I see it.
Yeah, you see it.
It was just approved, in 2019?
Well, it's not. The Wegovy was only recently approved.
But I'm just saying this basic product. The other one, which is the high dose, is like, whatever.
The basic product for diabetes was approved, in 2019.
Well, that's not enough time. That's not even 10 years of data. No. You don't know what's going to happen. Your hair could fall out. I mean, there are side effects already, including pancreatitis. Who needs that aggravation?
In fact, hair loss is one of the reported.
Yeah, hair loss is an issue. Until at least people shouldn't be taking anything that's this drastic, it's drastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's also it's also it's like the epitome. It's idiocracy. But I'm eating crap. I got fat. Give me a shot.
Yeah, and why don't you stop eating?
or try and eat something healthy. I don't hear Dr. Jen talking about that. Anyway, the way the healthcare works in the United States, this will be my last clip, is as the following. It's all about the money, people.
Marisol Perez had a virulent case of COVID and pneumonia when she arrived at this HCA hospital in 2021. She was just 42 years old. Doctors put her on a ventilator and into a coma. But after kidney failure and a series of mini strokes common in COVID, about a month after her admission,
common in COVID,
staff began urging her mother, Alma Salas, to transfer her daughter to end-of-life care and let her die.
I felt like he was trying to pressure me. Hey, do you really want to live your life taking care of your daughter in a vegetative state for the next 30 years? I just looked at him and I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to let her go.
Another time, she says, 6 or 7 HCA staff members gathered at her daughter's bedside, urging her to end her treatment. One nurse, Salas says, was very aggressive and came in repeatedly.
She got really angry. I was taken aback.
The pressure, Salas describes, exists at some of HCA's other 170-plus hospitals. Staff are pressed to get patients into hospice, where life-saving treatments are withdrawn, and the incentive is not necessarily patient care, but the improvement of hospital performance metrics. Because if a patient dies in hospice, even in the same hospital bed, their death will not be counted in the hospital's mortality statistics, a key factor used by those who rate hospital quality. And the better the rating, the better for business.
Yeah, baby. Kill him. Just kill him. Kill him, kill him, kill him. All right, now you have to get us out of here with something upbeat, uplifting, and fun.
Upbeat. Well, I have a few things left. Let's do what we can do. We can do this. This is not uplifting or upbeat or downbeat. This is not bad. This is just interesting to me.
Okay.
But then again, let's skip to out shit for the next show. Let's do Blinken on Taiwan. This is Blinken selling out the United States and selling out Taiwan. The Taiwan thing is there's never going to be a war over Taiwan.
On Taiwan, I reiterated the longstanding U.S. One China policy. That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences.
I don't understand this. You have to explain. I heard this, obviously. What? How does this even work? We're China. Oh yeah, the minute do anything to Taiwan, we're going to get our F-16s jets. We're going to do them, and now it's it's like we don't support China as being independent. How does this work?
They don't support it. There's a document that we signed some years ago, I guess, that the Chinese have thrown in our face and said, hey, look, you said you're not going to support. Hey, look, you're not going to support Taiwanese independence. You shouldn't be talking so much about it. You're talking too much. And so this is Blinken's, okay, we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Wow.
And he had a little kicker in there, which is the status quo, which is the main thing he wanted to really get. Nobody's talking about that. But which is a good thing, because status quo means nothing's going to change. But it still sounds like a weenie. The guy's a weenie.
I do have something that'll be fun to listen to. From the Irish Green Party, Senator Pauline O'Reilly. There is an act that is being set up. I guess it's only in Ireland, the Incitement to Violence Act. And with incitement to violence, it basically means if you make someone feel bad, I think. Listen to this short clip.
When you think about it, all law, all legislation is about the restriction of freedom. That's exactly what we're doing here, is we are restricting freedom, but we're doing it for the common good. You will see throughout our Constitution, yes, you have rights, but they are restricted for the common good. Everything needs to be balanced. And if your views on other people's identities go to make their lives unsafe, insecure and cause them such deep discomfort that they cannot live in peace, then I believe that it is our job as legislators to restrict those freedoms for the common good.
So what I heard is if you don't use someone's pronouns, which of course is violence, then you're going to be penalized by the law.
That's exactly what she said.
And I would like to remind everybody in the United States, we have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the amendments, and it's all meant to restrict government, not to restrict your rights. You have the rights. It's to restrict the government from doing anything to your rights, which inherently means all people have these rights. So there's no such thing as extra rights that anybody needs. Am I right? Am I right?
You're dead on.
I don't know why that happened. It's like a new little jingle we should use. All right, everybody. For end of show, I've got the Resist Me Much, We Jitty.
Oh, we got some great end of show clips. I heard them earlier.
Yeah, definitely some good ones. We got Jesse Coy Nelson's from Michael Anthony and G's Laughs. If you're listening to noagendastream.com, trollroom.io, or one of those brand new podcast apps, the Millennial Media Offensive kicks off with Bat Soup Chef right after we're done, which is well worth listening to, I tell you. And coming to you from the heart of the Texas Hill Country here in FEMA Region number 6. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where I remain, I'm John C. Dvorak.
Please join us again on Sunday for another 2 to 3 hour media deconstruction. We're here to spin you down in that spun up world. And we'd like you to remember us and send us some value at dvorak.org/NA. Until Sunday, everybody. Adios, mofos, a hooey hooey, and such.
We interrupt your programming to bring you this breaking news.
We much. We jitty. We down. We down. All down. We much. We jitty. We down. Down. We down. Down. We down. Down. Oh no. First stop Kazakhstan. First stop Beijing. First stop Chipotle. First stop La Vita. Oh no. First stop Kazakhstan. First stop Beijing. First stop Chipotle. First stop La Vita. There's no real conflict. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, about down, up, down, down, about down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, La Vita. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Hubris. About down, about down, about down. Rush Lombard. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. La Vita. We much resist. Sigourney Weaver. We much resist. Fran Drescher. La Vita. We much resist. Hubris. We much resist. And Antonine Scalia. Up, down, about down, about down. We jitty. Shut down, La Vita. Up, down, up, down, up, down. We jitty. No.
You might die. Not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. No, don't let him go. Okay, I can first. Come on. It's all going to be over soon. Come on. All right. God save the Queen, man. God save the Queen, man. God save the Queen, man. No. Don't let him go. No. Don't let him go. No. Don't let him go. All right. God save the Queen, man. It's all going to be over soon.
I always knew that one day I would be the mayor. 33 years ago, the voice in my head told me, you finna be the most powerful black and brown man of color on the globe, the mayor of New York City. Behold, the prophecy is fulfilled. I be reading about the apocalypse in the Bible, and I'm like, that's how you get stuff done. The 7 plagues, corona, monkeypox, climate change, white supremacy. Man, we got more than 7. The mark of the beast, COVID passports, and the lake of fire, mostly peaceful protests. I don't believe in no separation of church and state. The Bible say we in the end time. So I'ma make sure we accomplish the apocalypse.
What did Alexander Solzhenitsyn say about this? He goes, we know they are lying. They know they are lying. They know we know they are lying. We know they know we know they are lying, but they are still lying.
Clear the cache is like picking out the trash. No sign I'm necessary when my software does it for me. I'm using new cookies, definitely not a rookie. John C. ahead of his time. Just that time watching Viva Fry. That lawyer Canadian guy in the morning was lost on him, sounding Canada dry. Offending to all senses when you put on a mask. I prefer you say you ruined me like cast. Crafting a narrative can be like casting a spell. Deny the early treatment, hell we got a vax to sell. Take this experimental treatment and do not tell. Shot to the heart, I'm not doing well. I like my comedians doing stand up on the stage. These globalists like just asking the world for humanitarian aid, and they redefine the international crime as what they say. Laws must be passed to really make Russia pay more than $1 trillion are confiscated today. Not giving it back, no way. Pod fast and listen in the pod fast too fast. I can use a break like a pod fast.
That's all the media has left to do. The M5F has boiled down to complaining about other news organizations. And I think that bores everybody.
The producers want you to just do what you just described.
Yes.
As opposed to actually doing real work.
Yes.
What are you going to do? This is great. Oh, all I have to do is get a bunch of, clips of my competition and bitch about Tucker Carlson. I can do that till the cows come home.
Podcast in the universe.
Mopo.
Dvorak.org/NA.